Hello, this is the 76th episode of the Funfiltered podcast. I'm Sam. No, you're Sam.
Yes, that's
I'm
right.
Jordan.
Oh, did you invent that then?
No,
Okay,
that was a
right.
genuine mistake.
All right.
I'm Jordan, that's Sam.
Hello.
Here is the episode.
Okay.
Coming up,
We give you our Rex and Rex.
we review Dune Part 2,
Season 1 of Gladiators.
I.S.S,
Roadhouse.
and You'll Never Find Me.
Is it a wreck?
Or is it a wreck?
Like a
Recommendation.
Or a wreck?
Okay, first the Rex, as always. Curb Your Enthusiasm, Season 12. Mm-hmm. You've seen a bit of this.
I've seen as much as I can bear, I think.
Really? Didn't you... Okay, well, we're going to talk about it next episode. But didn't
Okay.
you just binge Baby Reindeer?
Yeah, no, here's the thing. Baby Reindeer is an intention... Well, I guess they're both intentionally what they are.
Yeah.
But yeah, Baby Reindeer is a miserable descent into hell. Curb Your Enthusiasm is supposed to be funny. It's supposed
Well,
to...
it is funny.
No, it is, but it, like... That, it winds me up. And this is not me complaining.
Oh, okay, right.
This is not a complaint. It is genuinely doing its job. And it's genuinely nice to watch a comedy, that is both funny and well written.
Yeah.
But it just winds me up watching it. The
what way does it-
situations he gets himself into, the
okay.
situations that kind of arise from that.
You get frustrated with him.
I get frustrated with everyone.
It's interesting, because, I don't know, I don't feel that discomfort with Curb.
It's not so much discomfort, it's just like... Just empathy, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's cringe humour, basically,
Yeah.
isn't it? Like The Office, the British Office, definitely, it's
Yeah.
palpable. But, no, with this, I mean, because you've only seen
I've seen
this.
the first 4 episodes of this season. I haven't seen
Oh,
any-
4, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, the cringe stuff was a lot more potent in the earlier seasons. It hasn't softened, it's still as good as it ever was. But... yeah, it's very much kind of cleaned up a little bit as the show has gone on. But anyway, yes, it's as good as it's ever been. It's over now. The show has concluded many times in the past, but this does feel definitively like the ending. There's always room for it to return, which would be welcome. But if it is the ending, it ends on a high note. An impressive feat for a 12th season.
A 12th season over... It's like 2000 this started.
24 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's very impressive. And its finale is it's a rectification of the Seinfeld finale, because the Seinfeld finale was considered awful, and Larry David was the head writer on Seinfeld for the first few years, and then left. Just kind of like, I've done my part, but then he came back to write and direct, I think both, the finale, and it was considered awful.
Okay.
And this kind of recapitulates a lot of the stuff from that finale, but does it better.
Okay.
There's even a line, Jerry Seinfeld's in the finale, and Larry David says to him, why don't we just do that in the Seinfeld finale? He's like, yeah, now you mention it. So, I don't know, it really worked. Okay. And it doesn't end with all the characters dying, so it could come back if you wanted to.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's Curb. Immaculate.
I haven't seen this.
You haven't seen this?
No.
Okay. It's better than your Conjurings and your Insidiae. It's not as good as your Hereditaries and your The Witches.
Okay. But it does have Sydney Sweeney in it, right?
This is the thing.
Yeah.
Well, there is something creepy about religious statues upon which the film capitalizes.
Right.
The marketing was ingenious. The strategy was ingenious because the promo, I don't know if you saw it, the promo that was doing the rounds was Sydney Sweeney in a low-cut dress,
All right.
selling it as a date movie, intercut with footage of audiences jumping at it in cinemas, thereby appealing to young women who enjoy jump scare horror and men who like Sydney Sweeney.
Right.
So it was like a perfect cross-section. The film, it's nice, it's short, it's pretty empty ultimately, but it does the job, which is to offer a few scares and serve as a vehicle for Sydney Sweeney.
Okay.
And the ending is strikingly memorable. It ends the way a horror film should, a proper horror ending.
Okay.
So yes, I would recommend it. Malum. Have you seen Malum?
No, this has been on my list for quite a while.
Yeah.
But I haven't got around to it yet. This is another, it's another horror.
It's very much a horror.
It was very much a
Yes.
horror, is it?
Yeah.
It's just like a person in a place, right?
Yeah, well, it does what you want it to, if relentlessly.
Okay.
Right? Okay, so it's a good horror setting, which is an abandoned police station. Most horrors seem to conform nicely to certain subgenres, right? So you've got your psychological horror, your body horror. This is horror. It's horror with cults and demons and jump scares, but on the higher end of that continuum.
Okay.
It's horrible.
Right.
That's the only word I could come up, because you've got horrific, things like Relic. No, relic is horrible, isn't it? Then you got horrific, like, I don't know, irreversible or something like that, which is deemed a horror film. You got horrifying. This is just horrible. It's very horror-y.
Okay.
It probably makes no sense. It purely wants to gross you out and freak you out. It brought to mind Resident Evil 2. That's a police station.
That's a police station, yeah.
And it does indeed feel like a video game at points. Five Nights at Freddy's also sprang to mind. This is what that film could have been, which is utilising a single location while uncovering a mystery.
Yeah.
You know, using the details. Yeah, it's out there. You've got to be a proper horror fan to like it. But not a proper horror fan in that hereditary way, which is, it's psychological and it's off. This is just full on, it's blood, it's jumps, it's all the horror stuff. But if you're up for that, it's good.
Okay.
Ripley. Now you have seen this.
I have seen Ripley.
You've seen all of this?
I've seen the whole of it.
Okay, thoughts?
I've done my homework. I watched...
Mostly.
I watched Ripley.
Yeah.
I enjoyed Ripley. Mm-hmm. It was a surprise to me. I didn't know they were doing it. I just it dropped on Netflix one day. I was like, oh, what's this? Oh, it's black and white. How strange.
Yes.
Andrew Scott. You aren't thrilled with him in this, from what I hear.
I think his performance is perfectly fine. I just think
it's a good performance.
I think it's weird casting.
Why?
His age. I know I'm alone here, but I think he's a little bit too old for the role. So he's fine. He's good, but The Talented Mr. Ripley, which is the most famous adaptation of the Ripley series of books.
Yeah.
Matt Damon plays him. A very young Matt Damon. And Matt Damon's fresh-faced Ripley makes more sense to me. This college boy look, the person that could have come from anything and could be anything. Completely moldable, completely, ductile.
Yeah.
That's not the same for a man that's almost 50.
No. He doesn't have that kind of malleability, but at the same time, he has like a... not plainness. But
no,
his age and his appearance, like he could just melt into the wallpaper.
He's a blank canvas.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and don't get me wrong, the performance is perfectly... It's a good performance. I have no problems with the performance. I just think, on the casting level, I would have gone for someone a lot... I would have gone for, like, Johnny Flynn, who plays the other guy in this.
Oh, yeah.
Just someone younger. Someone a bit younger, for whom, like... There are different categories, aren't there, of inexplicable. So Anton Chigurh, what is he, about 40? But really ageless. Like, how old is that guy? He could have come from anywhere. I don't mean it in that way. I just mean a young person, like Saltburn. I didn't like Saltburn, but, that guy of... He could go on to be anything he wants to be.
Yeah.
And he comes from nothing, nowhere sort of thing. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, I know that, like, the black and white... That's probably the first question a lot of people ask is when they see this, is why the black and white?
Yeah.
I think there were practical reasons for it, above all. I think Steven Zalian, who did Schindler's List...
Oh, he's one of the go-to... He's kind of like John Logan, which is just big movies, like, where you don't think about who wrote it, like Gangs of New York or something. Yeah. He wrote it.
Right, okay.
Yeah. But yes, notably Schindler's List.
Yeah, notably Schindler's List, also another big black and white thing. With dashes of colour, because there is a little bit of colour at one point in Ripley, which is it's very well implemented.
Yes.
I think his big thing was he wanted to set it around wintertime.
Okay.
And it was kind of impossible to film in Italy and it not look like the middle of summer.
Yes.
So yeah, it's probably got practical applications, but it really enhances just the stark cinematography, because is there any camera movement in this at all?
Yeah, not that springs to mind.
Yeah, it's a very locked down, very well behaved camera.
Yeah, the DP is Robert Elstwit, who did There Will Be Blood, amongst other things. There you go then. So yeah, I think he's the kind of MVP of the series.
Yeah,
the DP. It's very well directed.
Yeah,
very well written.
It's Andrew Scott and it's the cinematography. Yeah. Those are the two big stars of
absolutely. The third and fifth episodes are particularly great.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil them really.
No, nor do I. I have no notes to spoil it.
Yeah, but one thing you'll notice very quickly is that it's a slow series. It's a slow burn.
Yeah, other than the third and fifth ones, it's very slow.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. The third and fifth ones, on the page, when you're kind of breaking down the series, you could achieve what those episodes achieve in a much shorter time.
Yeah.
But they would lose their appeal, which is the process that that character goes through. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is quite slow, but I will say the pacing never felt nonsensical to me.
No,
it made sense to move at the pace that it did.
It's not a criticism. It's just that I know it won't be for a lot of people because it's so slow.
Yeah.
But, like, stick around, because, the third episode in particular, I would say. But the fifth one's also great.
Yeah.
it's very professional in its presentation. For me, there were flashes of Fincher in its sense of process,
and
like
control,
you said. Yeah, just how characters go about doing things.
Yeah.
And there's even comic injections into that as well. So in the 5th episode, again, we won't spoil it, but he does a thing, then realises he forgot something.
Yeah.
And so has to retrace his steps. Yeah, it's very good. It feels like the 60s. It really does. Elliot Sumner was a bizarre casting choice.
Remind me.
Freddie.
Okay.
Sting's daughter. Or Sting's child.
Yeah.
That's my only critic. The character of Freddie is just a man. And they cast a non-binary woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to end non-binary thing.
Oh, do we?
Yeah, I'm just happy. I was watching it thinking like, I'm just sick of it.
Okay.
Just like, where it's just like not questioning that it's like you're clearly a girl with a short haircut. And just, it's been a long time, I think, since this podcast was controversial. Or very controversial. And I'm just like, it doesn't exist. Non-binary does not exist. It's not a real thing.
Well, I was going to say, like, I don't know what the status quo would have been at that time in that part of the world.
Well, in the 60s.
In the 60s in Italy, in particular. Like,
I don't know.
We can make assumptions about New York because the history of New York is very well documented across kind of a long period of time.
I'm sure Italy is as well, just it's more culturally specific. Like you'd have to look into it to know.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. It's less known off the top of our heads. But yeah, I wonder if it would be questioned. Or whether
I'm sure it would.
I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know. And I guess that's what they're counting on when they cast somebody like this in this role. They kind of count on you either just liking the fact that decision was made.
Well, yeah.
Or not having the knowledge to question whether this is a sensible decision that's been made. Whether it makes sense that a non-binary character would just be out in the open, living a life in Italy at this time.
Right, that I honestly don't know. My suspicion is that a non-binary... I can't remember if the character is framed as non-binary or whether it's just like, it's a man. But
yeah, I think it is. I think in the show they are.
Yeah. Don't do that.
What?
They are, you said.
I'm just... I don't know what's going on.
Nonsense is what's going on. No, I don't know about the cultural specificities. Maybe it's like a lot more liberal, like Iran before the fall. It's a lot more liberal than it became. Maybe, I don't know. But no, it was done just, thinking that its core audience, most people who watch it, are either not going to care or going to celebrate it. It's becoming more and more prevalent that non-binary characters, like, where it's just not a thing, where we don't mention that it's...
Well, it might come up in a later rec or rec.
Will it?
Maybe.
We'll see. I can't remember, but we'll see. Yeah, I don't know. I saw one article that was, Ripley, gorgeous, blah, 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 but aside from one bizarre casting choice. Now, I didn't read the article, but I could guarantee you they did not mean Elliot Sumner. They meant John Malkovich.
Yeah.
And that's just a bit of a shame. But otherwise, it's a really good show.
Yeah. Did it... How much of a difference did it make?
No, it did make a difference.
Okay.
It genuinely... Especially for the 60s, and it's not a man. It's clearly not a man. It's a girl with a short haircut. I just kind of thought, why are you doing this? I'm just getting sick of it. It's at that point now where I'm getting tired of it. And... we always say, if there are gay characters and things, don't make a big deal of it. And that's what they're doing in this, but they're doing it for a thing that's not real. It's not like it's a trans person and whatever, or it's a gay character. That's where we want to be. But this non-binary normalization thing, it didn't exist. How many people in their 50s do you know that are non-binary?
No, I was just going to say, in terms of like the gay thing, you're actually kind of right, because the show does flirt with that. Because people are making assumptions as to whether Ripley and Freddie... Freddie.
I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
Yes, Johnny Flynn's character.
Character, that they might be gay.
Yeah.
And there seems to be this air of that wouldn't be good if that was the case.
Yes, well, the whole thing of Ripley, again, he's what he needs to be. He's probably everything. He's like, I think Daniel Craig said about Bond. They allude to it in Skyfall, don't they? It's like, what makes you think this is my first time?
Yeah.
Oh, Mr. Bond. It's like, that character would do that. Would fuck a guy if he had to get information or whatever. I'm not saying I want to see that in a future Bond movie. Latent homophobia. No, it does bother me. It does. I have to say.
Okay.
It is an issue for me. And it's an issue because I worry about it becoming more and more prevalent.
Okay.
And I know that I have more of an issue with it than you do. Like, that's not something that's going to ruin a series. It didn't ruin the series for me, but it detracted from it a great deal.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, but it is still in the Rex.
Yeah, it's still a recommendation. It's still a good series. Yeah, I'm not that kind of bitter about it.
Okay.
But I think it is a bad thing that we're doing this in society. Anyway, Robot Dreams.
Yes.
Yes, a lot more innocent.
Yeah, a good thing.
Yeah, and unequivocally.
Yeah.
And yeah, without qualification, a good thing. Well, it's one of the better recommendations this episode, and it's one of the better films of the year so far. But there's not that much to say about it, I don't think.
No, there isn't really. I found it too long.
Okay.
I don't know where you stand on that.
No, I didn't find it too long.
I know that the kind of film that they're doing, it doesn't really have a lifespan to it. Mm-hmm. In terms of like, this has to be a half-hour film, or this has to be a 2-hour film.
Yeah.
You can kind of keep going as long as you want. Mm-hmm. But that works to its benefit and to its detriment, because whereas it's nice, a lot of the sequences in there are really pleasant to sit through. Yeah. There are times where I'm kind of watching going, all right, but why?
How long is it?
I think it's like 1:40. So it's not It's not a slog.
No, I know that. I mean, watching it, I didn't feel it was particularly too long, but yeah, for an animated film, you're looking at 1:20, really.
Yeah.
Going beyond that is pushing it. But, I mean, yeah, it does kind of have the ring of a short film. Like, this could be a short film.
Yeah.
It could be a 10-minute short film if they wanted to. But it's not that. But yeah, it's charming, it's simple, it's universal, and it has an adult conclusion with a mature point, even though you don't want it.
Well, I didn't want it.
Yeah.
And I'm on the fence as to whether the film did its job or didn't.
How do you mean?
Well, why doesn't he? Why doesn't he?
Because their time
let him know that he's there.
Because their time has passed. It's over. You can't recapture. There are new people in their lives now. Like, that was a moment in time.
Yeah.
And it's over now.
But it wasn't.
No, I know.
It wasn't. It was neither of their faults.
Yeah.
That separation happened.
I know.
And
that's life, unfortunately.
He has just decided that for the other character.
Yeah. But the other character's happy. He sees the other character being happy.
He's happy because he's making do. Like, he there was an opportunity for him to reunite.
Yeah.
And that was robbed of him.
No, I know. Look, I had to reject my... Just go tell him.
Yeah.
No, I wanted them to be back together. Of course I did. But I know what the film was doing.
I know what the film was doing.
Yeah, and I knew it wouldn't end with them back together as well. After a certain point, I'm like, yeah, it's not going to happen. They're going to be fucking adult about it.
They're going to be fucking.
Yeah, they're going to be fucking. I just... Yeah, no, it is sad, but it's also... The point it's making is taken. I know. Reluctantly.
Yeah.
It's reluctantly taken.
Yeah.
I know. Anything else?
Oh, well, I resented it.
But you knew it was good.
Yeah, no, it's very good. Yeah, it's nice that... because most of the characters... Yeah, it's an animated film. It's no dialogue. Yes. And a lot of the characters are based on animals. There's some robotic characters, but it's basically just like anthropomorphic animals. I kind of appreciated the film's restraint with that. Because you look at a film like Zootopia, for example, and it's just like, it kind of overdoes it.
It's going all out on the... Yeah, it shows how they commute, like different doors for each, which is cute. But when you get that detail, it's like Elemental. When you create a universe that has all these dimensions to it, you start to go, well, no, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the fact that it's basically just New York, but populated by anthropomorphic animals, right?
Yeah, but they still, there's still some thought as to where those animals are placed. So you've got the big, bulls are security guards, and the octopus is working as a secretary. And they still do a lot of that stuff, but it's not overbearing.
Yes. No, I agree.
It's a sensibly, given the story they're telling, the world is sensibly realised.
Yeah, the main character's a dog.
Yeah.
And it's just a dog that just lives in an apartment.
Yeah.
And just watches TV, and it's just a dog.
Eats microwave dinners.
And eats microwave.
On his own.
Look, I'm not, I'm not too proud to say that I basically lived that dog's life. But, no, it was a very nice film. And nice films are kind of hit or miss with me, because I have a dark interior life.
Yeah.
But no, I did like it a lot. Shogun. I know you've watched this one.
Yes. Yeah, well, everyone has watched this one. This is the show of the year, right? So far?
So far, yeah.
Yeah.
That and Baby Reindeer.
Yeah. It's good.
It's good.
It's alright.
It's good.
It's good.
Cosmo Jarvis is likeable.
Yeah, is his voice real?
Well, his strange accent is very compelling. I've seen him in other things. I don't remember him sounding like that. but it's been a long time since I've seen him in anything, and I feel like he's doing different accents and in different things he's in.
Yeah.
But no, it was a very unique invention.
It's difficult to tell because he's the only like native English-speaking character in the show, really.
Yeah.
And you spend a lot of time... It's a bilingual show because like they're in feudal Japan, but he's from England.
Yeah, I wonder what the percentage is. I would say like slightly more Japanese, right, than anything.
In terms of...
Slightly more.
In terms of the language.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you spend more time with Japanese than you do with English.
70-30 maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because obviously he learns it at one point.
Yeah.
So even though he's still a beginner, by the end he's speaking Japanese quite a bit.
Yes.
So yeah, it's like he obviously stands out.
Yeah.
That's kind of the point, is that he stands out. But his voice sounds almost synthetic at times compared to everybody else. It's really bizarre. And I don't know whether that's an intentional production thing that they've done to kind of increase the alienation factor.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so, probably. Yeah. He's kind of added almost unnecessary. It works, but from the ground floor, you'd think, why is he not just using his normal accent? Why is he doing a Heath Ledger joke? Why has he invented this thing from the ground floor?
Yeah.
It does kind of work, but it is an interesting, strange choice. Hiroyuki Sanada is just one of those guys on screen that like, oh, I'm safe.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's just one of those very watchable, comfortable screen presences, and he has a very lived-in dignity.
Yeah, he fills that character that he's playing, definitely.
I think dignity is kind of a trait that can be assigned to a lot of roles he's played. Like Shogun may have been the first thing you've seen him in, but you've probably seen him in other things. You just don't know that you have. So like he's the captain in Sunshine.
Okay.
He's in Rush Hour 3. You know, he pops up all over the place. Basically, it seems like he's one of the few Japanese actors that speaks English. So he's often used to play Japanese characters in American and British productions. It's a strong story. It's a well-realised world. Yeah, it's definitely one of the hottest shows going at the moment. I don't love it as much as others appear to. I think it's a cut above most shows, but nothing magnificent.
Well, I think dignity is a word that can be used to describe the show as well. The show is very dignified in its presentation and how it conducts itself. I get the sense that they probably paid a lot of attention to getting the history right.
Yeah.
Because this leads into an actual battle that took place, right? And just the way that they carry themselves, like the way the women shuffle along, and
it's samurai. It's a respect-oriented culture.
Yeah, exactly. And the way they use their swords and hold their swords, and obviously the seppuku comes up, and like all. It really does feel like they spend a lot of time getting Japan right. Honor.
Yeah.
And all of that is greatly appreciated, and it doesn't feel like the show exists just to be an authentic representation of Japan at that time. As you say, there is a good story as well.
Yeah. It's not something like Marco Polo, where it just kind of looks crappy. Yeah, they do use visual effects.
Yeah, and you can sometimes
tell. But for the most part, it's sets, and it's on location, and that's appreciated too. The love interest is good. This is based on a series of novels, I think.
Okay.
And I don't know how prevalent her character is in the novels. One of the tendencies in modern television, if something's being remade or readapted, is the female character that didn't really get given their dues in the original get given a much bigger profile. And it definitely works here. She's kind of was a standout of the show. I think she's a favourite to win a bunch of awards. Yeah, I liked her a lot. And she sort of becomes the driving agent, really, of a lot of the show. But I don't think it's the 10 out of 10 masterpiece that a lot of people are saying that it is. I just think it's a very well-made show. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. The fact that we're not singing its praises as much as other people does not mean that I think it's any less worthy. It is a very good show. Yeah. It's probably going to end up being one of the best shows of the year by the end of the year.
Maybe.
We'll see how we go.
Yeah. I think it's like 10 for me.
Okay. But yeah, no, everyone's probably already seen it already, but I would recommend it.
Absolutely. Okay, and the final rec is The Teacher's Lounge.
Right, okay.
You haven't seen this.
I haven't seen this yet.
So, thus far, one of the year's best films.
Okay.
It's mature, it's very believably naturalistic, it's intelligent, well-performed German drama. It's very much a movie for grown-ups.
Okay.
It's basically about a teacher in a school, and one of the students is accused of stealing. But then this teacher kind of cottons on that maybe it isn't him, that maybe it's his mother, and it just kind of flares up all these divisions and sectarian divisions within the school. It's this little microcosm of society. So it's just really good.
Okay.
It's really pared down. For grown-ups, that's the best way I can use it. Like, most things made now aren't for grown-ups. And this is. And it's not one of those dry European, oh, it's a French movie about existentialism. No, it's just a good story well told that happens to be in a foreign language, but people should watch nevertheless.
Okay.
It's very good.
Okay.
Now for the Rex. The American Society of Magical Negroes. You like just knowing from the title.
I know, like, yeah, alright, Sam has put this on this list, so let's see what he's got to say.
Well, to be fair, I'm not in a minority. People don't like this film, but for different reasons. So it never made much sense depending on your definition of racism, of which mine's pretty stark. But it's time to retire the term reverse racism. So you know what reverse racism is, obviously.
Well, tell me anyway.
Black people being bigoted towards white people.
Okay.
It's called reverse racism. The theory being that racism can only really come from the dominant section of society. That I never bought into that. Also, if you don't like another race, whatever race you are, that's racist. This film is racist and disgusting.
Right. Okay.
The trailer, when I last looked, it's probably more now, on YouTube has 142,000 dislikes versus 10,000 likes.
Oh, interesting.
And the reviews have been bad, which is encouraging.
You don't usually see that kind of ratio outside of like major studio things like Star Wars or Sony movies.
Well, this is a studio picture. It's made $2.5 million and was pulled from the theaters after 3 weeks. But it is a studio picture.
Right.
But the main criticism from the critics seems to be that it plays it too safe, or that it's too polite.
Okay.
Like, why is satire this polite? I did not find it too polite. And its ending suggests a sequel, or at least it would have done if the film hadn't bombed at the box office. Now you can just say it ends with a gag, which is the main love interest walks into a building and you see a plaque that says, the Society of Supportive Wives and Girlfriends. So...
Are they doing a cinematic universe?
Trying to kickstart the whining about shit cinematic universe. The was-verse.
Okay.
And I think given its performance, it very much is the was-verse.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a horrible film.
Okay.
Don't watch it. Ark, the animated series.
Right.
You put this on the list.
Yeah, this one is one of mine.
Yes.
I'm going to read you the cast list.
Okay.
Not the entire cast list, I'll be honest.
Okay.
But enough, I think, to make my point.
Okay.
Okay. So who have we got here? We've got Michelle Yeoh.
I know her.
Gerard Butler.
I know him.
David Tennant.
I know him.
Jeffrey Wright.
I know him.
Elliot Page.
I know her.
Carl Urban.
I know him.
Russell Crowe.
I know him. Russell Crowe. Right.
This show doesn't even have any reviews on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay.
Strange, no? Given some of the
cast,
people that are in this?
Yeah.
There's a lot more people. I don't want to give the impression that it's like only A-listers, but it's a lot of A-listers.
A lot of A-listers.
For a show that just appeared out of nowhere and has had no presence.
I don't know anything about it.
No.
I know that it's been on our list.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that our list is probably the only place that it's been at the moment. Yeah, no, it's a video game adaptation. There's a video game called Ark Survival Evolved.
Is there a live action series?
No, this is the adaptation.
Yeah, so why is it the animated series? Why specify that? Just call it Ark.
I don't have these answers, Sam.
No, I'm rhetorically asking it to the ether of annoyance.
Well, there was only one game and it was called Ark: Survival Evolved. So they'd already committed to making
colons had been there was a precedent for colons.
Yeah.
We have our title.
I think Vin Diesel was behind all this, because I think he's also here somewhere, but maybe as like a producer.
Okay.
Because he's in the video game sequel. Like, he played a big presence in the trailer that they did for the sequel. This show is basically Lost, but if there were dinosaurs and it was incredibly woke.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Okay.
The main character, who is an Australian Aborigine lesbian, wakes up on...
Why do you seem to encounter these things more than I do? I'm the one that, like a moth.
Yeah.
Is drawn to the flame of being an irritated.
Well, as the point that I've just made, Sam, is this show doesn't seem to exist anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know what streaming service it's on, but it appeared all in one go, and there was like 6 episodes, and they just fucked off. They didn't even advertise it.
But the thing is as well, the voice cast that you read, a lot of famous people. Not a voice cast, though.
No.
It's famous people. I read an article the other day about, A-listers taking away jobs from voice actors. And I understand, if you're a studio, you're going to put, unless you're Tails in the Sonic franchise, you're going to put A-list actors as the voices. I completely understand that. But it is also, there's a point there.
Yeah.
Which is when you cast people whose jobs, whose careers are as voice actors.
On-screen actors and voice actors, they're different skills.
Absolutely, and there are some that can do both.
Yeah.
Mark Hamill being one.
Yeah.
But, like, it was the bloke that voiced... Frank Welker, right? He's Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
He's a voice actor.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, no, there are distinct entities.
Yeah, there's a reason it's a specialisation. It's not... You can't just jump back and forth.
No.
But yeah, she wakes up on this island, and she very quickly finds out that all of the people that are kind of on this island are all from different periods of time. So she's from
Lost.
Like Lost. Yeah. So she's from the modern day, obviously. And you know she's from the modern day because she imposes her sensibilities and beliefs on everyone. There's a character, the character played by Michelle Yeoh is...
Is it a bird?
No, it's a warrior from ancient China.
Sure.
And she ends up in a relationship with this woman.
Sure.
Because ancient Chinese warriors were known for their lesbians and whatnot.
And their Aboriginal fondness.
Their Aboriginal fondness. Yeah, so you got ancient Chinese warriors, you got Roman soldiers, you've got... I think David Tennant plays this guy from like the 1900s that's...
Explorer.
An explorer that wants to exploit the natives and everything like that. And then, there are also dinosaurs everywhere, because that's the big video game bit.
Right.
But as well as dinosaurs, there's also, like, futuristic technology.
Okay.
Like, the big MacGuffin of the first season is, like, a laser gun. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very crap. I hated it. Well,
the phrasing of a meme came into my mind, which it usually doesn't. But it's like the executive going, okay, how much can we cram into the show? Yes. That's what it sounds like from what you're saying to me.
They seem to be throwing everything at the wall. Like I said, the main character is thoroughly unlikable. The thing that I was referring to earlier, non-binary people, obviously Elliot Page is in this, playing the main character's girlfriend.
Oh, okay.
And she's not male in the show, she's a girl in the show.
Well, Elliot Page is not non-binary, as far as I understand.
Oh, no, you're right.
Elliot Page is trans.
Yeah. But he's playing a woman.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
So that's, okay.
Pick a lane. Yeah. Make up your mind. I'm fine
with what in the 1950s even, society, do you ever think someone could say pick a lane when it came to sex? Pick a lane.
Well, it
wasn't picked for you.
It is just a case of like, right, for all the people trying to keep up with you, what do you want?
Yeah.
What are the
Demi
rules
Lovato
here?
is sort of the crux of that, isn't she? Because I think she's like was non-binary, then trans, and has gone back.
And then she changed her mind, and then she didn't. And there were a couple of things like
just because her name's Demi. That's all it is. Halfway.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's not very good. Don't watch it.
Okay, well, I won't. I definitely won't. A woke Lost. I mean, Lost is one of those properties that it's sort of bizarre that it hasn't been resurrected.
Yeah.
Because everything else has. Heroes, Prison Break, 24, they all came back. That era of network television. And the people that created Lost have said, absolutely, it's probably going to happen someday. We give our seal of approval, but we will not be involved with it. We told our story. Honourable. And there's always obviously something in me that's like, ooh, like Lost coming back, that could be interesting.
Yeah.
Even though I think we talked about it, about how you would go about rebooting. And it's very difficult.
Yeah.
Because you'd have to have an entirely new cast, obviously. I think Damon Lindelof said, if to the person that does end up making it, we would ask that just you don't use our characters, because we tried very hard to give endings to all those characters.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a Dharma Initiative, if you don't, you kind of, well, that is Lost. It's a very, it's a unique thing. Changing one thing, you might just do another island show. Don't call it Lost. But which is probably what it would be. But one of the fears that I would have about it coming back is the modern sensibility, that it would be woke Lost.
Oh, it would be.
And I'd rather Lost just stay where it is. Because, I mean, Damon Lindelof is a wokeman. And I'd rather... A wokeman. And I'd rather just Lost stays firmly in the mid-noughties.
Yeah.
Just leave it.
Okay. Well, we got it back. It did come back. It's this. It's the... Because I think they even say in the show that, like, the island is basically an afterlife.
Well, that's not what... Don't be putting that out there.
No, Lost but that's the thing. That's what that's what people think Lost is.
That haven't watched it, yes.
Yeah.
So don't be putting that out there again, okay?
But the only other thing I'll say about Ark as well is... Because it's not just this. It's everything at the moment. At the end of episode 6, they show, like a 5-minute preview of season 2.
Okay.
Because they've made season 2. Because everyone just makes all the television at once nowadays.
Yeah.
Which I think we've spoken about. I don't know if we've spoken about it on the podcast. It's not a good thing to make all your television at once.
No.
Yes, you've got like 2 or 3 seasons in the bag ready to go in like quick succession. But you don't get to learn anything from season to season.
It's good for one thing, which is the creators, if they have a plan for the show and they know they're working with 2 or 3 seasons, it can benefit them. Lost needed an end date.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like Fallout, you thought had been renewed.
Yeah, before it was premiered. Announced, yeah.
Now, it didn't, but it was like 2 or 3 days. Now, that's something. To me, when I read that, I was like, oh, that's new. That actually it took a little while, like 3 days for it. And it makes sense. It gets such high numbers. Like, it's still going to be on. We're still making it.
Yeah.
I understand that. But there used to be a thing with seasons 2 of television that I'm sure we've talked about on this podcast. You can see what they thought, the creators thought, was successful about the first season, given the response to it. And it's hit or miss. Seasons 2 of things are very interesting for that reason, which is, what did they think was good about it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that kind of is eliminated by instant renewal or making the show before it goes public. Yeah, no, it's something we should dispel. And I'm just waiting for this last television thing to happen.
Yes.
But anyway.
But yeah, well, no, I was going to say, like, I don't think the makers of Ark, the animated series, have a plan.
No.
Because, yeah, they basically showed season 2 at the end of season 1. And with the exception of one character, all of the characters that died or had ambiguous fates in the first season, they're all back in season 2.
Okay.
So the whole thing was just a fucking waste of time.
Yeah. Is that it for Ark?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, move on quickly before I think of something else.
The Book of Clarence.
I don't know what this is.
Well, yeah, this is also an edition of mine. Yeah, companion piece there with the American Society of Magical Negroes.
Uh-oh.
I didn't know what to expect with this film. I quite liked James Samuel's, the director, debut feature, The Harder They Fall, which is a black western. The themes and plot and inferred politics of the film were off-putting. And
the Book of Clarence.
Book of Clarence.
Okay, right.
And this was well-founded.
Right.
It's filmed unpleasantly, sloppily, without discipline or consistency. The font of the film is modelled after the Ten Commandments, but it just looks ugly here. The music, editing, tone, and pace feel improvised. It's unslick and poor-looking by the standard we now expect, which is made even more unusual by the fact that The Harder They Fall was pretty well made, as far as I recall. There are some very basic and boring jokes about religion that you've heard before. You know, stuff about the virgin birth and getting the idea to be the Messiah while high, etc. It's smug. I'm not religious, but the fact that the main character only starts believing in God when he walks on water irks me somewhat, because it feels like a big ask. Faith is supposed to be the point. There are jokes about Jesus' depiction in the West as a white man. So Benedict Cumberbatch is in it, and he plays a homeless man, and he gets like a makeover. He's cleaned, and he resembles our imagining of Jesus. And when he's made to look like that, a black woman remarks, "Oh, so trustworthy." Now, the snarkiness of that aside, I love this move that's been made in recent years to try and claim Jesus as a black guy. Jesus was a Galilean Jew, you know, olive. He wasn't Caucasian, no, but he wasn't Danny Glover.
Right.
It's James Samuel's sophomore outing, as they say, and it is indeed sophomoric. Avoid it at all costs.
Ooh. Had I known this was going to be such a spicy episode, I would have prepared myself for.
Yeah, no, it is a bit spicier, this one, isn't it? Yeah. That's all I got to say. Don't watch it.
Okay.
Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
All right. This one should be a little less spicy.
More icy.
Oh, more icy. Yes. Is it just me? This might just be me. That's why I'm asking you the question.
Sure.
Please answer.
It's not rhetorical. Okay.
There's something about ice.
Yeah.
That, like, when the villain's power, like, ice related, especially with, like, ongoing stuff like this, it always feels gimmicky to me.
Yeah. No, like, it is.
Fire, not so much. But there's just something about ice where it just feels like they ran out of ideas almost.
Yeah, very basic. Yeah. When I was a kid, I never played, you know, was it Bulldog? Is that what it was called? Run, Bulldog, Run, or something. What was it called?
Well, describe it to me.
The game where it was basically chicken, but like you had to run at each other from opposite ends of the yard, and you just like whack into each other.
Oh yeah, like I think British
Bulldog.
Yeah,
British Bulldog, or Kit, tag as it's known otherwise. The jumper game, which was invented by me, but it turns out it's like Newton and Leibniz. They both invented calculus at the same time without knowing the other did it.
So which one?
The jumper game. Well, Newton's black apparently, so I guess Leibniz.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but the games that I used to play when I was a kid were what we call the dragon game or the ninja game, which is we invented stories, you know. But it was essentially Power Rangers, right? So my friend he was a redhead, so he always had the power of fire.
Right.
Another one had the power of ice, another one had the power of, those are the first two things you think of. Then electricity, the earth, you know. I was always the character whose powers were a bit more esoteric.
Right.
So like mine was
the
time.
Power of words.
No, it wasn't that much for wanker.
Okay.
But it was time. You know, in Power Rangers, you always had red, blue, and then there was always the one that came in halfway through the series.
Like the Omega Ranger.
Yeah, or the Gold Ranger. I was that one.
Right.
I was the one where it was time or memory or some shit like that.
You were the one they brought in when the whole thing needed a freshening up.
Exactly. Yeah. No, because it was always like a little alpha contest between me and the redhead. He was the leader of the team, but I was the rogue. I was the Sawyer. You know, I was the cool one.
Okay.
I know, hard to think. But no, I agree. I.S.S is just easy. It's like, they have the power of ice. I.S.S is easy. Yeah, no, I.S is an easy thing. What to say? Okay, well, it's gag reflex humour. It's cliched. It's hyper concerned with fan service. The plot is dull. The cast is too large. The characters are boring or annoying. I wish Finn Wolfhard would go away. Kumail Nanjiani has become my personal mark of death. Patton Oswalt is in it, and I know he's yours.
Oh, yeah.
It's a shame about Carrie Coon. It would be pretentious to start your movie with a Robert Frost quote at the best of times. The attempt to capitalise on the Minion/Baby Groot/Baby Yoda thing with the mini puffs is gross, and the whole thing made me feel sick. Does that cover it?
Yeah. That will about do, yeah.
Godzilla X Kong.
Oh shit! Okay,
the new empire.
All right, so this isn't the only film where this is going to be the case. We were going to do a review of this.
We were
a proper review of this.
Yes,
doesn't deserve
the
time.
Yes, for that. And you voiced an anxiety that are we using the Rex and Rex as a crutch?
Yeah,
we're not. No? I just want to assure the audience. No, we're not taking it easy on ourselves. There are some films that...
Yeah, we still had to fucking watch it.
Yeah, and what we would do in the past is just not talk about it at all. Indiana Jones, The Dial of Destiny, for instance. We are going to talk about this, but there's really nothing to say. Well, there's certainly nothing intelligent to say about it. The plot is incomprehensible.
I don't know how people were allowed to get away with this.
That people were paid to do this.
Because you sometimes
rather than the Nuremberg trials.
like people will sometimes say that, like, oh god, people were paid to write this.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like it's not even that. It's not even as though they were lazy. It's so incomprehensible. It's beyond laziness.
Yeah, it's like, the True Detective Night Country.
You couldn't have been conscious while writing it. That's how stupid it is.
Yeah. No, and it's just so over caffeinated and over, like, it just needed to be stripped down to the essential. Look, it's a monkey and a dinosaur. Just have them hit each other, and I'll watch it.
Yeah,
I will. I'll watch. You know, it doesn't have to be much more complex than that. But they've introduced, because this is another cinematic universe. They've introduced all these things into it. And it's like, why? Why does King Kong need a power-up suit? I mean, it's just on his arm in this.
Yeah. Why does the other monkey mock him for having a fake tooth?
Well, it's kind of, he's the Uncle Tom of the ape community.
Oh, is that how you took it? Yeah, but do they even know what a human is?
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they should be running away from it terrified.
Yeah, like, what the fuck is that,
Yeah,
dude?
It's that whole thing of, like, any future technology would be considered magic by earlier generations. Yeah. No, definitely.
That would make sense if they started, like, worshipping Kong. It's like, oh, we don't understand what
He's got a robot arm.
Yeah. And so the other guy is like, no, I am your king.
Yeah.
I fight you now.
Yeah, no, exactly.
How long did that take? 20 seconds? Not even good, but it's better than what they do.
It absolutely is. No, it's big things with different colours hitting each other.
But it's not. And that's the problem.
No, yeah, it's not. It's not only that.
That's the thing that's always used to defend this, is Kong suplexes or Godzilla suplexes Kong through a pyramid.
Yeah.
Kong uses the little monkey as a club to hit other monkeys with.
Battering ram,
yeah, that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
Why isn't there more of that?
No, I agree.
Why is Brian Tyree Henry doing a podcast? Yeah.
We talked about that last episode, how there's got to be a person that does a podcast now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the comic relief. No, I agree. But those moments where Kong is using the small ape as a battering ram and the injections of mundanity, like he has an infected tooth.
Yeah.
That was the good stuff. Yeah, it wasn't only that. And it's certainly not a defense of it. That's a dumb movie. But if it was only a dumb movie rather than an incomprehensible dumb movie, it kind of has ideas above its station, right? You don't need a complicated plot. Just be, Transformers, but without all the sex stuff. Yeah, but they're the only non-dull moments that's all there is to say, I think.
Yeah.
That's all. That's it.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I don't even know what to criticise, because I don't remember what happened.
No, like I said, it's a True Detective Night country of ape-based blockbuster movies. Okay, Kung Fu Panda 4, bear-based.
I got nothing for this.
Well, I have one note, which is it's almost a 20-year franchise, which is amazing in itself.
Yeah.
Failing to justify itself. Kung Fu Panda 2 was stretching a point.
Wasn't Kung Fu Panda 2 the one where Gary Oldman was a peacock?
Yeah, but again, it's like Paul Dano as a space. It's not like enough,
I don't know.
No, I'm not saying it's a bad movie. The third one's not a bad film.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's doing the same thing again and again.
That's the thing. I've not, refamiliarised myself with the Kung Fu Panda in a while.
The Kung Fu Panda saga.
Yeah. There's a lot of love for that second one. It's often put up there with, some of the better DreamWorks sequels.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that's not my opinion, because I honestly don't remember it.
No, same. But my memory is that the first one is good, and then the others are the same thing.
Yeah. The first one's good. The second one seems to be as good, if not better, for a lot of people. And then the third one was considered the weaker one, but it was still fine.
Weak but fine. This one is just...
It's totally unworthy of comment.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah.
I remember nothing about it.
No.
Absolutely nothing about it.
The only thing that was kind of slightly disappointing about it, and I know this isn't only my opinion, but in the wake of Puss in Boots 2, it's disappointing that a similar approach wasn't taken with Kung Fu Panda, with a...
You wanted him to have a panic attack?
No, not a panic attack.
Indigestion. That he thinks he's having a heart attack.
Oh, that would have been a good... Yeah, if they did that. It's like, oh, no, okay, it was wind. Sorry. No, just hyper-stylized animation and a proper...
Right.
It's just a proper exploration of that character. In the same way that Puss in Boots 2 was kind of about the legacy of Puss in Boots and him living up to that. This film is about Poe retiring as the Dragon Warrior. Do something with that.
Well, the milieu of the Kung Fu Panda universe lends itself to having hybrid animation style, right? Anime.
Yeah, and I know that it's already got a stylized animation, because they're very intentionally blocky designs. Yeah, so I don't want to make it sound like I think the previous films were badly animated or anything. But yeah, I think for a lot of people, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish marked a step up in terms of not just the quality of animation, but how they were approaching animation at that studio.
Right.
And this is just, it's another Kung Fu Panda film. There's nothing special about it.
Yeah, I mean, just the title itself, Kung Fu Panda 4.
Yeah.
It's like a parody sequel that you get in a satire about Hollywood film, Oh, have you heard they're making Kung Fu Panda 4? I can't remember what it is. It was Simon Pegg. I mean, it's slightly different, but when he was interviewed about Shaun of the Dead, they said, oh, now that it's possible that you're going to break into, American films, are you going to forget your roots kind of thing? He said, well, it's not like I'm going to suddenly go off and make Mission Impossible 3. Which is exactly what then happened, But it was pulled as an example of big movie sequel.
Yeah, the thing that it reminded me of just then. Remember the football sketch from Mitchell and Webb?
Yes.
Tonight on Sky Sports 4, which was supposed to be a joke, but there is a Sky Sports 4 now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Sport. So, Rebel Moon Parts 1 and 2.
Right.
Or I'm calling it the Do All the Junk.
Right, okay. We really tried with this. We really tried.
We watched part 1 when it came out.
Yeah.
And didn't want to talk about it.
No.
It was like what happened to Baby Reindeer. You just don't want to talk about it. Yeah. We were... Spoiler for Baby Reindeer. we were mediatically raped. Yeah, but we waited and thought, okay, we'll justify this by... We'll do parts 1 and 2 when they come out. And
Bumper review.
We've previously done the Zack Snyder filmography review.
Yeah.
So we thought, oh, okay, kind of a precedent's been set. We can wait and do. So that's what we've done, sort of.
Yeah. Yeah, us giving each other shifty looks. Yeah. That was the plan.
Because it ends with the suggestion of a threequel.
Yeah.
So you did float the idea.
I did, yeah.
Oh, we could just wait till the third one.
If he's going to keep making them, then
we can just... So yeah, we perversely might end up signing petitions for him to keep making Rebel Moons, so we never have to get around to reviewing them.
Well, the story's not done, guys. We can't review it properly,
So it's actually interesting thinking about it, because we'll be talking about Dune very shortly. But, the fact that you've got the part 1 and 2, and now the third one... ostensibly for both of them, which feels like an extension of the story rather than a direct continuation of it. So yeah, Rebel Moon and Dune side by side. You've got everything you need to know about cinema there. Okay, so Rebel Moon. Zack Snyder hasn't grown 1 inch since starting out as a filmmaker, notwithstanding the tumescence that he experiences when he considers a shot that a 12-year-old would find cool. He's a geek in the absolute worst way, which is to say a fanboy. He's obsessed with this character has this sigil and is from this planet, and here's a glossary of sci-fi words. It's horrible. It's dull. It's aesthetically hideous, awfully scripted, and embarrassingly performed. Taking aim at the slow-mo is a low blow, but God, does he live up to his reputation with these films.
Well, for me, that's the problem. That's the reason we're not doing a full-blown review of this, is because he hasn't learned anything.
Yeah, it's the same.
We've done it. We've criticised everything that we can about Snyder, and he's still doing it.
Yeah, I'm stretching just to say something. You know what I mean? We had to say something, so taste is taste, and never has that been more vivid. There are people that genuinely love Zack Snyder, and I guess it's like trying to reason someone who doesn't like the taste of Marmite into liking the taste of Marmite, and vice versa. There's just an unbridgeable gap there. I'm not an elitist, despite how it may sometimes appear. But
this is some of the things you've said in this episode.
I know. But people who've given this a 5 out of 5 on Rotten Tomatoes, they're either bots, children, haven't seen enough films to put this in context, or are idiots.
Right. Simply
Idiots. And I fear most fall into that final category. The severe awfulness of this film would typically demand a review. But there's honestly nothing interesting to say about it, other than so far it's the worst film of the year.
Yeah. Like, unequivocally.
Yeah.
Like, Madam Web.
Imaginary, it blows them out of the water.
Yeah, no competition.
No, because it conducts itself with a self-seriousness that is respected by a fan base.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
No one is saying that Michael Bay is, the next Stanley Kubrick. They are saying that about Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
So there does have to be some rebuttal. It's the worst of the year.
Absolutely. And it's just like, releasing the Snyder Cut is the worst thing we ever did.
As a culture.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Because that is... It's like a joke at this point. It's like every other week he's going, oh, I want to release a cut of... I want to redo Sucker Punch.
Sucker Punch.
I want to redo this.
Sucker Punch.
Yeah.
Which is one of the worst films I've ever seen, full stop.
Yeah.
It really is. I left that film and it did damage to my brain. I left it stupider than when I went in.
Yeah.
No, Sucker Punch was just an assault. And now he's saying, oh, look, we have... It's either the money's there, something's there in place already. Like, we have all the material, we know what we want to do. And, there's no reason to think he won't get enough support behind him to make it.
Well, he's already got that support in a way, because not only is he releasing part 2 of Rebel Moon, he's releasing part 1 again, but an hour longer.
It's like The Last of Us.
Yeah. It's just like different versions every time. And because that's the thing, Sam. It's not just the director's cut, it's a completely different film. Right. That's what he said. You got to watch part 1 again because it's completely different.
The thing is, director's cuts I am generally against, right? Even though we prioritise the auteur vision, rather than the studio, I'm generally of the opinion that if it was left on the cutting room floor, it can stay there. Like, the quicker a film is, the happier I am. We talked about this with Tarantino and Paul Thomas Anderson. Like, I think Anderson's one of those directors. Let him do whatever he wants to do. Not Tarantino, and not most directors. I recently saw the director's cut of Amadeus. Okay. Which is a long film. And I was reading about the differences between the director, Milos Forman, said, well, I knew that, setting something in Vienna, a period setting about Mozart, with nothing blowing up, nothing like that, was a big ask anyway. And so I just made the decision, anything that wasn't directly forwarding the plot, we would leave on the cutting room floor. But now that I have the opportunity, DVD, Blu-ray to do it again, I thought, why not do it like this as the script was written? You go, right, good. That is what a director's cut should be. It's more flavour.
Yeah.
It's more stuff in it. Apocalypse Now, there were like 20 different cuts to that film. Blade Runner, 20 different cuts. Yeah, it's all over the place, and there ends up never being a definitive version of it. But Snyder is already an indulgent filmmaker. And we're giving him more indulgence.
Yeah.
Like, time to be more indulgent. Another hour of Rebel Moon. What didn't I get from Rebel Moon?
Other than character plot. decent action.
Yeah,
pretty much anything it promised
It's
you.
just going to be everything slower. What was the Snyder cut of Justice League, but slow?
Yeah.
Just everything done in slow motion.
Yeah.
He's 12. He's a 12-year-old. He thinks it's cool.
He should be ashamed, because it is...
He should be.
But that's the thing. It's clearly become his MO at this point. He doesn't just make films anymore. He makes director's cuts.
Yeah.
He makes a film and then he releases the proper film later on down the road. No, make the film the first time, or just go away. Please, just go away.
I'm not precious about it ultimately, but when you call this a film,
this was released within a month of Dune 2.
Yeah, I know.
How are you not embarrassed?
You call it a film, a motion picture.
Yeah.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is a film. Taxi Driver's a film. Pulp Fiction's a film. Yeah. This isn't that. This is something different.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking on the spot now, we should come up with a different term for them. And I would vouch for snides.
Snides?
Yeah, snides. He doesn't make films, he makes snides.
Right.
Yeah, I think we should propagate that. Okay. That's it, right?
Yeah, no more.
The regime.
At the start, it felt like it was aspiring to be an Iannucci project, in the loop, the thick of it, that kind of stuff. But by the end, I had no idea what its aspirations were.
Okay.
In a way, it put me in mind of, this is a callback to, this is for the podcast loyalists. It felt like a troposphere episode of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
The show feels like it's playing dress up, but instead of the costume being an Agatha Christie mystery or 80s sci-fi horror, it's a costume of scraps torn from a bit of this and a bit of that. To stick with the Doctor Who analogy, it's a bad Moffat episode, not a bad Chibnall episode.
Okay.
So what I mean by that basically is it's not a terrible show because it clearly has aspirations and it's clearly trying to do something interesting and unique. And it doesn't do it well, but I think because it displays those aspirations, I'm inclined to be a bit kinder to it.
Okay.
Than Rebel Moon, for example, which clearly just wanted to exist.
Well, it has a pedigree, and its personnel are obviously Kate Winslet, and Hugh Grant, and everything. But Will Tracy, the showrunner, was a Succession writer.
Yeah,
and The Menu, I think he wrote The Menu.
Yeah,
which is decent.
Well, that's the thing. I think a lot of people are disappointed with this because of that pedigree.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we wanted Succession, but taking aim at autocracies.
Yeah, because that's the thing. It starts out and it does feel like Death of Stalin. They're in a big stately home, and there's you get the sense that there's going to be a lot of backstabbing.
And I imagine no accents.
No accents. Yeah, as well, exactly.
Brits doing their natural. Yeah,
everyone doing the natural accents. They got some Europeans, they got some Brits, they got people from everywhere.
Yeah.
Americans. And they've kind of got, Succession, Frank and Jerry and the people of the board, they kind of have their equivalents of that in the regime.
The sycophantic surrounderers.
Yeah, that kind of know that this is all bullshit and it's not benefiting anyone, but they go along with it.
Right.
But they're also kind of secretly scheming and there's
Death of Stalin.
Yeah, there's intrigue and there's some interesting stuff there. It was great to see Hugh Grant, but he's only in it for an episode. Okay. Yeah, it's a disappointment. It's not a bad thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. That it?
Pretty much, yeah. A lot of people have complimented Kate Winslet, and I suppose she is fine in it.
Yeah.
But it did feel like she was doing an impression of someone.
She's one of those actresses that people always say, well, she's good, the thing isn't.
Yeah.
I don't know how true that is, but yeah, it's like Meryl Streep.
Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty absurd character that she's playing, because she's germophobic, so of course we meet her, and there's people have to go around testing the humidity in rooms, and then there's a point where she's
like Putin and Hitler.
Yeah, she's completely cocooned in this medical suite. And she talks like this, and her mouth kind of droops to the side.
Oh, she's doing British upper class.
Yeah, it's kind of that kind of... It's this all the way through. Even when she's showing emotion, she kind of talks like this.
Okay.
So yeah, it feels like she's trying to do something very particular, and it comes across more as an impression.
Thatcher meets Putin.
Yeah, it comes across more as an impression than what do you call it? I guess by creating something really specific, you want to create something obviously unique, but also that is that character.
Yeah, singular sort of.
It's a singular character, but it didn't quite get there for me. It felt like she was trying to do something, and I don't quite know. And that really could be said for the whole show. The show was trying to do something.
A hodgepodge.
Yeah, and in the end, I didn't really know what it wanted to do.
Okay.
But I know it wanted to do something, and I wish it did it better, because there was something here.
Fair enough. Okay. Shall we hurtle into the reviews?
Let's do it.
Okay. 2.
Yeah. Hurtling on our sandworms of
review.
That's not the title.
Sandworms.
That's my submission for the title. Failed quite spectacularly.
Okay. Well, Barbenheimer was 2023. Dune Part 2 is 2024.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of people's favourite film at the end of the year.
Yes, it's going to be the world's favourite film of the year, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's still early, but I can't think of anything else coming that's going to unseat it.
It's not going to be Kingdom and Planet of the Apes. It's not going to be Furiosa. It's not going to be... I don't really know what's coming up. Like, there doesn't seem to be anything big that's set to the throne.
Yeah, certainly not with a director like Denis Villeneuve, who has become a very, modern fixation for people. But for such a cinematic achievement, again, there's rather little to say, I think. It's a simply plotted, well-acted, beautifully shot film. It's technically peerless, and Greg Fraser can probably expect another nomination, if not another Oscar, under his belt.
Yeah.
I love the music and the design, and it's a proper part 2. There's a consistent tone, pace, and visual sensibility through both films.
Yeah.
Villeneuve is really a master of the craft. He really is. The cast is fab. Chalamet isn't annoying, really.
Which is a big achievement for you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The standouts, I would say, are Zendaya, Rebecca Ferguson, Austin Butler, and Javier Bardem, who, besides being the closest thing to comic relief, really sells that role.
I really liked Javier Bardem. Javier Bardem was the one character who was like, if you kill him, I won't forgive you.
Okay.
Because that's the thing. I saw this in the cinema, and that was absolutely the right place to see it. I mean, it can be enjoyed at home, but like the scenes when he's first riding the sandworm, and the first time when Rebecca Ferguson consumes the blue liquid, and that there's a lot of stuff that's built just to be a sensory experience.
Yes.
But I kind of went into it without refreshing my memory on the first one, which was a big mistake.
Yeah.
There's no mercy. Like, if you don't know what's going on, the film will not help you.
No, it's not that it's opaque because there's too much stuff. It's not quite that.
No, it's like, it's a continuation of the story.
Yeah,
We've already introduced these characters.
Yeah,
we don't need to do it again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's not the film's fault. It was my fault.
No, yeah. That's what I'm trying to get across, is that it's just a continuation. It really is part 2. Christopher Walken, has been criticised for being out of place. I didn't find that to be the case, really.
I think, I don't know what the general criticism is, but I think for me what was weird about it was that it was just Christopher Walken.
Well,
you've got whichever Skarsgård it is, he's in all of that, like, makeup and prosthetic, and there's, like, he's this weird alien-looking creature.
Right.
Austin Butler has obviously got that same alien quality to him. Even a lot of the people, like Charlotte Rampling and even kind of Florence Pugh, that are kind of around Christopher Walken, they're kind of dressed in all of this decorative, like...
Okay.
They have a very unique look to them.
Yeah.
And it's just Christopher Walken.
In a robe, yeah.
In a robe.
Okay, I mean, but I think when people say it's just Christopher Walken is an eccentricity.
Yeah.
It's, wow, it's him doing...
Yeah, it's not that Christopher Walken.
No, it's not. That's the thing. He is acting. It's not him just being his weird self. He is buttoned down in it. I suppose people think, like, oh, why would you cast an eccentric man to be such a buttoned down role? But I didn't watch it thinking, oh, this is unusual. If anything, that was the case with Dave Bautista. His years of wrestling and whatever that man puts in his body have created a tightness of his features.
Yeah.
So when he's shouting, which he does a lot in this, it's like, ooh, your face is struggling against the volume, But no one was really out of place for me. I like the simplicity of the story, good guys versus bad guys, with some nuance in there. But my biggest critique is that I didn't get the catharsis, rather, that I wanted. I wanted Josh Brolin to have a proper fight with Dave Bautista, and I was robbed of that. It's a juvenile expectation, but the thrills to be had in a film like this are traditional ones. Similarly, the epic showdown to which over 4 hours of screen time had been building is over quite quickly.
I don't really know what happened to the sandworms.
Yeah.
They ride in on the sandworms out of the desert, and obviously amazing shot. They raid the base, and then there's just no more sandworms. I don't really know where they go.
It's kind of like, I mean, you haven't seen it, but Game of Thrones, when the dragons finally arrive at the Queen's kingdom. And obviously the whole show's been building towards that, because when the dragons do arrive, they're nukes. They're the functional equivalent of nukes. Like, there's no defeating them. But yeah, you kind of like, I know that was the point, but now I'm just... In Game of Thrones, it's probably a little bit more layered, because it becomes a genocide all of a sudden. Like, fucking hell, like, she's just not stopping.
Yeah.
In this, like, when you actually have the sandworms on your side, battle over.
Well, that's the thing. He doesn't just have the sandworms on his side. He also has nukes on his side.
Yeah, actual nukes.
Basically.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, I understand that is kind of like the starting place of the story. The Fremen are the underdogs. They are the people of the land.
They're the Taliban.
That are being oppressed by the...
I want to say the Taliban. Not the Taliban. Yeah, kind of the Mujahideen. The Afghan during the Soviet invasion. Not after 9/11.
Yeah.
Very different.
Yeah, no, you have these like huge wheels of industrious like war basically manifest.
Yeah.
The Empire versus like these people in caves.
Desert people. Yeah.
People in caves that have massive sandworms and nukes at their disposal.
Yes.
It does kind of...
To be fair, the nukes only when it is the Atreides.
Yeah,
Arsenal.
I know.
It's not. No, I know what you're saying. It's not like they have that at their disposal.
It undercuts the little guy versus the big guy.
No, it does. Yeah.
When the little guy has bigger weapons than the big guy.
Yes, but I suppose realism, is that a word you want to use? But like, how are they going to beat them if they don't have something like that? But I take your point.
That's why I'm watching. I want to find out.
Yeah. No, I take your point. Yeah, no, I wanted a big epic final battle.
Yeah, because the scene where they take down, I don't even know what it is. That like spice mining thing, like where they're kind of like hiding under its legs and they're taking out the choppers. That's a good display of their power.
Yeah, well, it's like how the Viet Cong won the Vietnam War. They know the jungle. Yeah. No, I take your point. Yeah, well, I think maybe the action climax was kept trim for time because it is a long film. But that's the stuff that you really do want to spend time with. Despite its length, it's like almost 3 hours, right?
Yeah.
It feels like it knows exactly what it's doing with deliberation and economy. It's weird to hear that scenes and even characters were cut. So Tim Blake Nelson was in this.
Oh, right.
But his character was cut. And that's strange because it doesn't feel like the film could allow for that. Its length aside, it does feel like it's tight. It moves along briskly. I prefer the first one, though I know I'm in the minority. I'm more than happy to be given a part 3. It's spectacular, that can't be denied. And something to deeply admire, but I'm not in love with it. But equally, there's not much to offer in the way of improvement. I think it comes down to tightening up the first 2 acts so we can luxuriate in the third act.
Yeah.
More action, make the fight scenes more exciting. That would have notched it up from a 4 out of 5 to a 5 out of 5.
Okay.
But yeah, what can you quibble at, really? It's an amazing achievement.
No, that's the thing. It is a landmark achievement. This will be looked back on. I'm not going to say that it's like this generation's Star Wars.
Yeah.
But the next generation of filmmakers are going to cite Dune 2 as their inspiration.
I would agree. Well, dude, it's better than Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, it actually is better than Star Wars.
Yeah, but I just think because we've had Star Wars already, it's not going to have the same...
No, I agree. Star Wars will always have more cachet.
Yeah. But yeah, there's like... This is going to birth... So many filmmakers are going to come about because they saw Dune 2.
I agree. Yeah, I think for us, it would have been The Lord of the Rings, not us specifically, but our generation, The Lord of the Rings and The Dark Knight. Big movies that were well made.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's not... I didn't love it, but I like it a lot. I just wanted a little bit more catharsis at the end of it.
I agree with that. I'm just wondering if... I'm not familiar with the books, but I am aware that the book that they're going to be adapting next, it kind of undoes... Not undoes, but like... It sort of addresses a lot of stuff in Dune 2, because obviously, like at the end, Timothée Chalamet, he's not like a good guy at the end, really, is he?
No.
He makes some questionable decisions.
Yeah, there's an ambiguity there,
Yeah. And as far as I understand, like in Dune Messiah, like his message is kind of corrupted and misinterpreted, and that
it starts Holy Wars.
Yeah, and so that's kind of what the third book is doing, is sort of like undoing the legacy, or kind of like he's putting his legacy right.
Yes, putting the legacy right. Yeah.
So is the lack of catharsis sort of the point of Dune 2? It's not the big victory everyone hopes for.
It's not like his ascendancy to Emperor that I wanted to be the catharsis. It is more like the Brolin. They set it up as a, when I find that fucker, like he killed my people, like I'm going to have a showdown. And there is something like interesting in the fact that he just kills him instantly.
Yeah.
Like Batista's no match for him.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that's something. But, there is a child in me. I wanted a fight. It's a 4-hour thing to get to a big battle, and I want the big battle. Because it's not like, even though Paul Atreides is a complicated figure, but there is a good and a bad side in this. It is the Empire and the Jedi. It's not like the Fremen are the good guys.
Yeah.
And Stellan Skarsgård, they're the bad guys. So if you're having your cathartic battle, it's not exploitative in that way. They should be killed. Do you know what I mean? They should be defeated. It's not like...
Okay.
It's not tragic. It's not like the end of The Last of Us Season 1 on the game, where he starts killing everyone, and it's this bleak character, recidivizing. It's meant to be, we took down Sauron.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's too much to ask to have that kind of childlike delight in that. But, that's it, really. I was just robbed of that. Otherwise, it is a masterpiece in its way. It's just, but at the same time, it's not 5 out of 5.
Yeah. Do you feel guilty about that? That it's, you don't love it?
No, because I admire it deeply.
Yeah.
I really admire it.
Yeah.
But you can't, just because everything is exquisitely made, it's still got to have enough blood pumping in it.
Yeah.
This came up recently, where we was saying, we can't find anything wrong with this, why don't we love it? And I think, it's poor things. If the story isn't that compelling to you, and the story is compelling, but the catharsis wasn't.
Okay.
And it took 4 hours to get there.
Yeah.
And so I needed the catharsis.
Yeah, I don't know, I just because that's the thing, I know what loving a film feels like.
Yes.
Scott Pilgrim, The Dark Knight,
right.
So many examples I could cite. And I know that people, in reviews and on the internet, people can lean towards hyperbole. So obviously you read through reviews saying this film changed my life and shit like that. You take it with a grain of salt. But yeah, just looking at the amount of praise that the film is getting, and people talking about just how much of an accomplishment it was. And I was just walking out the cinema thinking, I like the sand. I like the texture of the sand.
I wouldn't have gone that micro about it, but no, I don't...
No, but that's the thing. That's what I was thinking about. I like it.
Yeah, yeah.
I like it more than the first. I wasn't a fan of the first one. I do like this one. But yeah, I wasn't thinking about what an incredible achievement. I was just that film wowed me in the cinema. I was just thinking of that sand texture was really nice. It was a little detail I was thinking of.
Yeah, I left thinking, wow, what a cinematic achievement. I didn't love it.
Okay.
No, you shouldn't feel guilty about that. I mean, your opinion's your opinion. I mean, I don't like Lord of the Rings. You haven't even seen Lord of the Rings. So I'm not, I'm not unused to being in the minority. No, you shouldn't. Look, Late Night with the Devil, which we're going to review. Next episode. That's been heaped with praise, and I think that's nowhere near as good as people think it is.
But that one, yeah, but that one, it's easier to kind of we can articulate why.
It's easier. But I think it comes down to that. Everything on a technical level can be 10 out of 10. And you still have to go, okay, and what's the heart of it? And it wasn't quite there for me and for you, obviously. But it's not what is it, 97, whatever percent it is on Rotten Tomatoes. We wouldn't give it a bad review. We'd be part of that percentage.
Yeah.
It's not flawless. It's not a perfect masterpiece. I think when Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant talked about they hated Lord of the Rings. And Steve Merchant was saying, you read these articles about, you get thousands of extras, and he says, I'm not impressed with good time management. And a film's got to have, it needs a soul.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Dune 2 is soulless. I'm not saying that. It just lacks that kind of fuck yeah thing that you want from it. You go, at the end of it, you don't go, woo! That's what it comes down to.
Okay.
I think. Gladiators Season 1.
Oh, okay. I prepared myself for that shift then.
Yeah.
Okay. Go on.
Okay. You said that quite, I don't know.
Yeah, go on. What words?
What words? Well, there's quite a lot of words.
Well, you got words for the review, but no, I was going to be go on, tell me what my gladiator name is. Embarrass me.
Oh, I don't know.
In front of everyone.
I don't have a gladiator name for you.
Okay.
Do you think I did?
No, I thought even if you didn't, it was it's going to be wide or something. Oh,
no, I mean, if you're going to force me, I'll, but I didn't have one planned.
Okay.
Okay, what would I call you? Not insulin.
See, this is what I was expecting.
Diabito?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, yours is Diabito. What's mine? Go on. Bald.
Egg.
Okay. Egg and Diabito. Okay. Okay, so Gladiators is a return to old-fashioned Saturday night entertainment. People have been saying that the outgush of drool over Sydney Sweeney is signalling the end of woke.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's a correlation there, even though last episode we talked about some signs that it might be on decline. Whatever the case, this is classically macho ripped guys and hot women.
Yes.
No trans athletes. You don't think about race or sexuality much. They do flag up gays and disability occasionally, but you don't think about anything really. It's dumb and all the better for it.
Yeah, the only, like the furthest they really go with it is it Fury? One of the gladiators, Fury. She's deaf.
Yeah, okay.
And they say, when they introduce her for the first time, they say it's the first deaf gladiator.
Okay.
And that's it. That's as far as they go with it.
Okay.
And Fury doesn't, because that's the thing, she doesn't sound like a deaf person.
Is she deaf, or does she wear a hearing aid, or is she...
I don't know if she's deaf, but she is wearing a device to assist with her hearing. Yeah. But yeah, that is not the personality of that gladiator.
No, I don't have a problem with it. The thing, when you talk about this stuff, it often can come across as fucking gays, and that's absolutely not what we mean.
No.
A deaf gladiator is quite a cool thing, actually. But no, I don't want a bloke that's become a woman fighting women. I'm happy with a deaf woman doing it,
Especially when there's a few injuries this season.
Yeah.
And I don't know if how plagued with injuries the original Gladiator was.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because, I mean, health and safety's only got more extreme over the years.
Health and safety.
Health and safety. Yeah. You'd think that there'd be less injuries, but maybe it's just a testament to how physical the whole experience is.
Oh, you get tired watching it.
Yeah, it's not just the contestants. Like, there are two female gladiators, weirdly, that, just kind of disappear from the show one day because they've got injuries.
Right.
Like, I would complain to you, it's like, where's Comet? I wanted to see more of Comet, and it turns out that she broke her leg in 10 places or something.
Yeah.
And then they lose Saber, which is a massive loss for the show.
We'll come to all that, I'm sure. Keeping the original song was smart. I've always been a fan of that song. An ironic fan, which is just a way of saying that I'm a fan with a shield against your judgment. But, that era when all that was required was a 30-second sting, but they recorded a 3-minute track with 3 guitar solos. Yeah, I like that stuff.
Yeah, and I kind of wish that musical sensibility carried over into the show a bit more. Because after that theme song plays, it's just pop song.
Yeah, okay, to be fair. You mean for their intros and everything? Yeah.
Because I think that is an invention of the reboot, is when they introduce a gladiator. We should probably premise it at some point. Because, I know that Gladiators is a global thing. There's American Gladiators. I think Australia are doing their own Gladiator show at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, when they come out to to the event.
Yeah, their entrance song.
Yeah, they have entrance songs and Titantrons and it's like a proper wrestling introduction.
Yeah.
Which they didn't have in the original, I don't think.
Okay.
So it's obviously a way of infusing them with more personality, and it's a good thing that they've borrowed, and it's a welcome thing. But yeah, it's just they're pop songs, and they're also obvious pop songs.
Yeah, I know, but this is Saturday night entertainment. It's meant to be for everybody.
Yeah, but you've got that theme song, and it is a bit at odds with the rest of the show's identity at this, because it's so clean and slick.
It kind of feeds into something we'll talk about in a bit, which is it feels a big point of the show is marrying the generations. So you have the original theme song, and then you've got modern music for the kids.
Yeah.
So it's trying to... I take your point, but it's trying to straddle both worlds, isn't it? Bradley Walsh is the perfect choice.
Yeah.
Bit cheesy, very affable, liked by everyone, let's face it. Not so convinced by Barney.
I don't think many people are.
No.
I think Bradley is carrying this.
Absolutely. Well, the banter between the two hosts is a little bit awkward. In the 3rd episode, Barney refers to the Eliminator, which is one of the rounds.
Yeah.
And Bradley says, because they're sweating, they should have called it the Radiator. And then Barney says, well, they didn't, did they? And then that's the kind of, awkward segue into the next thing. I'd have loved it if there'd been an awkward pause. And then Bradley had said, well, I didn't say they did I? It becomes this really... I mean, that's the back
Fucking
and forth.
idiot. Have I taught you nothing?
Yeah, that's the back and forth in a nutshell. And another one, Bradley Walsh says, duels used to be settled with flintlocks at the crack of dawn. And then Barney says, oh, is that when you were in school? And I just wanted Bradley to turn to him and go, I gave you life, you fuck. Yeah, it's a bit more of that,
Yeah.
But they kind of do the stilted, insulting each other sort of thing. But they are clearly representative of the ethos of the show, which is bringing, like I said, the generations together. Father and son in the Walsh case, of course, but the contestants often talk about their families watching it when they were growing up. It's obviously designed as something that parents can tell their kids, I watched this when I was young, you're going to love this. And speaking as a single, childless loner, I'm just glad that this exists, that it's out there in the ether. A sentiment that, when expressed to my father, was met with a look that suggested I was a stranger.
What was it, just like that's not something Sam would think?
Yeah, it's not your taste, but you're happy other people like it?
Yeah.
Who is this alien in my
What is that podcast doing to you?
Yeah, exactly. I do have to confess that the show is actually an exercise for me. An invitation to be my best self and take the high road. Because watching it, I'm constantly having to reject my natural unloved disposition and embrace an ideal. So whenever there were shots of the crowd loving it and kids, dancing to the music and just fucking loving it, and everyone's getting along swimmingly, I had to quell the impulse to go, oh, fuck off. So it does kind of bring out the best in me in some ways.
Okay.
There used to be cheerleaders.
Okay.
In the original one. Pretty much the only ingredient that's been left out. I get cheerleaders, something for everyone, unabashedly targeting every demographic. But I don't mind that they're gone. I think it's a correction made for the wrong reasons, because the reasons are obviously political. But like I said, I'm not thinking about anything of substance or controversy or challenge here. I want to be infantilized. The show should be a warm mug of tea, and chocolate biscuits. There's no school for a couple of days, and there's no future to worry about. It's lowbrow entertainment without the feeling like it's dumbing the audience down, or patronising, or poisoning culture. Mrs. Brown's Boys.
Ooh.
That said, it's not completely absent of appeals of a more mature nature.
Go on.
Diamond is hot.
He's going to name all of the women.
Also Sabre.
Yeah.
And Comet.
Yeah.
Fury isn't bad. They're all pretty hot. A lot of the contestants too. They're all fucking each other.
Which one's your favourite? This is what this podcast is now. Rate the Gladiators, Sam.
Diamond is the prettiest, but she's a bit too big. I mean, they're all ripped, obviously.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But she's a bit too big, so Sabre.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Diamond has, the part of the chest is kind of... the leotard that she's wearing, part of the chest has been cut out.
Yeah,
so you can see her abs.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's properly ripped.
But she's tall as well, she's a tall girl.
Yeah.
So Sabre's a little bit more magical.
Well, this the thing. The rules on this are very simple. Hot women are hot.
Yeah.
Hot women with accents?
Yeah.
Way hotter.
Depends on the accent. What do you mean? Which accent?
Sabre is Scottish. And
it depends.
That works for her.
It works for her, but it depends.
Okay.
If it's a soft Scottish accent, whereas if it's a Glaswegian, that's not so
I don't know, there's something about
Really?
Yeah, just a very fair, pretty looking girl with that coming out of her. There's something compelling
Maybe
about
you're just
that.
gay, I don't know. It depends on the accent.
Okay.
I remember when we were in school, we had to write a short story. And I wrote an action thrillery kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I ripped off a line that I had read in an adult thriller book. And it was something like, she had a Russian accent, and blah blah knew that there was nothing sexier than a woman with a Russian accent, or something like that. Which, I didn't even really think about it that much at the time.
Yeah.
Not thinking how it would come across, that I'm really into... I just ripped off the line. But Russian's definitely one that, when Russians speak English, I think it's an attractive accent. I can't be doing the French thing. I mean, if it's soft, yes. German, I don't know. But no, I take your point. Accents can accept. Irish is a big one.
Yeah.
Irish is a big one.
Yeah.
This is getting too horny, this podcast.
I know it is, but just any European woman that you've met over the past,
It's not the accent that did it.
Oh, the accent helped.
The accent helps, but it's not it was the rejection of bullshit. So the audience has been prepped on who to root for, clearly, and who to hate. Viper is disqualified quite often.
Yeah, this is the one of the more interesting components of the show.
Yeah, that there's a bit of wrestling amongst the sport of it.
Yeah, there's a keyfrabe to it. So Gladiator, it's basically just like a game show. The idea is that you've got a group of contestants, 2 men, 2 women.
Yeah.
And they have to take on a series of events.
Yeah, I think it's worth pointing out, this is a bit unusual because I don't think we've ever reviewed
this is incredible.
A non-scripted show.
Yeah, this is light entertainment, and also, as you say, non-scripted.
Yeah.
And not a documentary either.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is why? Because this was your suggestion, really. Why do this?
Yeah, well, because I think we were both. I saw the show growing up. I knew like Wolf.
Yeah,
I don't know. There was just something about reviving something from the 90s, which again is something that we talked about. It's shifting more from the 80s to the 90s now. Yeah, I don't know. I think it was just in tandem with this podcast. Just kind of we're going to try everything. We're going to sort of watch a bit of everything and. There's definitely stuff to say because again, you put it side by side with the 90s. The expectation going in is okay, it's going to be woke, and we're going to talk about that in comparison with the old one. But it didn't end up being like that.
Yeah,
and obviously, Gladiators is something that a lot of people have watched and are watching, and been a massive ratings hit. So it's just something that's in the culture. So I just thought something worth talking about.
Okay, all right. But yeah, no, so there's a series of events they have to go through. In those events, they go up against gladiators, which are basically like the house robots, if you ever watched Robot Wars.
Right, okay.
Yeah, they're stronger athletes that, go up against...
Well, they're athletes. Most of them are bodybuilders and weightlifters.
Bodybuilders, sprinters, weightlifters, all of that kind of stuff. And then at the end of the show, they take on like an obstacle course. They have like a certain time advantage based on how many points they've accrued through the rest of the show. And then they move on to the next round, and eventually they crown a female champion and a male champion.
Yes.
It's very basic.
It's simple, yeah.
So yeah, you'd think that like, okay, well, it's a competition. Competitions are fair, right?
Yeah.
But then they'll have these moments where, Viper will cheat.
Yeah.
Or they'll kind of pick up on the fact that a contestant has kind of forged a bit of a rivalry with one of the gladiators, and so they will always go up against that gladiator.
Yeah.
I can't remember the Asian guy's name, but I think he faced Legend basically in every event after a certain amount of time.
Okay. Yeah, I can't imagine it ever impacts the competitive nature of it. They must work out because what usually happens is they'll try the task, the gladiator will cheat, Viper will cheat, and then they'll get given a second go. It must be pre-worked out. Okay, look, you're not at a disadvantage. You know, you just have to, very quickly, we're going to have him cheat, and then you're just going to have to start again. Yeah. They must agree to it. I don't know how... But yeah, that is the interesting thing about it. Because kayfabe is an interesting thing in general, but... Yeah, and how like wrestling is written. I mean, we've had lengthy conversations about this. Yeah. But... Yeah, no, if I could get one behind-the-scenes peek other than the changing room, I would like to know exactly how that stuff is worked out. Yeah. Yeah. Because that's the thing, other than Viper and Legend, and I suppose Nitro, because Nitro's always nice. I don't think Nitro's got any edge to him at all. They seem to dip in and out of character, the gladiators. Yeah. For the most part, whether they win or lose an event, they will, when they're being interviewed on mic, they'll kind of compliment their and again, contestant. I don't know if that is a relic of the old show or new. I suspect that it's new. That's what I was going to say. We live in a nicer world. That's what I was going to say. Yeah, it seems like every show that's kind of brought back is having the edges sanded off. Yeah. The Weakest Link is a good example. They had Anne Robinson, who was always kind of mean to the contestants. That was kind of the banter. Yeah, and if you made her smile, it was an achievement. Yeah, exactly, yeah. And she would, like, when people would vote who they thought was the weakest link, and they were wrong, she would always, like, rub it in their faces. Yeah. Like, oh, such and such thought you were the weakest link. What do you have to say about that? Or, like, the Chasers, you know. Yeah, they were bastards in the beginning. Yeah, they're really nice and then it's always kind of nice when they break. Yeah. They laugh or something, and you just get, like, I don't know, it's just a warm feeling, like, I know they're not really like that, you know, but I enjoy the theatre of it, the pantomime of it. Same with the X Factor. Simon Cowell was meant to be, you know, the hated one. Yeah. And by the end of it, he was just another judge. Like, whenever I saw a clip of him, it would be him praising somebody. Yeah. Like, he meant to be what was it on the Strictly? Craig Greville Horwood, I think his name. Yeah. No, there was always a nasty judge. And obviously it's a gimmick. But, yeah, it's just like, it's something, isn't it? It's a bit of spice in it. Yeah. And I don't mind that they're nice. But yeah, like Weakest Link, they brought Ramesh Ranganathan in, and now he's just like, oh, I'm a nice host, I get on with everyone. And then Gladiators, they'll be like, oh, Diamond, you got knocked off the thing. And she'll be like, well done, you did a really good job. But then occasionally, they'll be like visibly frustrated, and then they'll be interviewed, and they'll be like, oh, we're coming for you. Yeah. It's like, right, okay, what's the character? Are you in character or not? Like, what am I supposed to... Yeah, because what's weird about it is that, Viper never breaks character, Legend never breaks character. So for the other gladiators to constantly dip in and out of it, I don't really know if that's intentional or not. I don't know if that was always the case. Wolf, I imagine, was always the bastard. Yeah. And so, like, as long as we got a Viper and we got a Legend, the rest can kind of... I mean, there isn't really a female villain. No.
I think Saber's probably the closest because she's the one that seems to lose her temper quite a bit.
Yeah.
And she always has this kind of wry look to her, she's considering mischief.
Right.
Because I imagine...
You spent a lot of time.
Yeah, I studied Saber quite a bit.
You studied the Saber quite a bit.
Yeah, because she's cat-like. That's the thing with her, right? Isn't it? It's like a saber too.
Yeah. Okay, you like Saber.
I like Saber. That was the point I was making.
You got distracted.
I was thinking of Saber and I got distracted.
Okay.
But don't make that the point.
No,
I was making
I know the point you were making.
Yeah.
It's definitely a weekly show. Appointment television.
Yeah.
I kind of forgot we were going to review it. This was a while ago because we were supposed to review this a while back.
Yeah.
But I forgot we were going to review it. So in the run-up to the recording, I had to cram it all into a couple of days, basically, which is a lot. It's actually pretty exhausting watching it. It buggers you out.
Yeah.
And whenever a contestant struggles on the treadmill with the eliminator, the refs will pull them aside and give them like a little talking to, like, advise them how to focus and all that kind of thing. Like, look at the top, take it steady. I know for a fact I just would never manage it.
No.
Because I just, like, that kind of public physical performance, if they said this is exactly what you have to do, I would just keep fucking it up.
Yeah.
I know I would. I would never make it to the top. The finale was difficult for me because both of the women finalists were very attractive.
Right.
So I didn't really know who to root for. And I don't know who the men were.
No. I didn't watch the men.
Yeah.
I'll be honest.
Now that I've seen it and I appreciate it, I don't know if I'll watch it again. It is very much 50-50. Probably when it rolls back around, I will end up watching it. But it's something I would commission in a heartbeat. And I think it's a good thing. But it's never something I would realistically tune into. I never liked wrestling. I don't like sport. Though I will say I was rooting for Marie-Louise because obviously. In the
Irish as well.
Irish, yeah.
Earlier, yeah.
In the semi-final, when the competitor had a 9-second head start and she managed to beat her, there was some genuine feeling that I imagine sports fans feel commonly.
Right.
And I'm sorry that they have to experience that as much as they do. Imagine really caring and like getting angry about that. But crack on Gladiators is what I would say.
Yeah.
And please bring back Takeshi's Castle.
Yes. Well, they have, right?
Or they did like a one-off.
Oh,
but I think it was like a British version.
No,
I want the original. Version. I want them to have make more 90s Takeshi's Castle.
Right, okay.
Because that was always the fun of it. Just this completely other culture, and you get Craig Charles to voice over it. It was this weird thing. And I liked it a lot. And I want it back. But I think that's it for Gladiators, right?
I guess so. Like, the only other thing I was going to say was, like... And I guess this is expected, given that there's basically 16 Gladiators.
Yeah.
Some of them are better than others.
No, of course. Yeah.
And I think the show kind of acknowledges it, because there are certain ones like Nitro and Legend and Dynamite and Giant. You see them all the time.
But you need that. You need the bench warmers, don't you? If there's an accident. You need that many.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
But then whenever they bring out, like, Phantom or Bionic, and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I kind of forgot about you.
Also, I think the names are a little blander than they used to be.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, like obviously, like in the original ones, there was like Wolf and Jet and things like that. Yeah. But Fire...
Well, it's like Ice.
Yeah, that just feels so lazy to me. Because obviously the entire like identity...
Should we call this episode a Song of Ice and Fire, whatever the fuck the Game of Thrones things is? Yeah.
Ooh, it's... Oh, no, it's two idiots talking about how racist they are and how horny they are.
Not racist in this episode, transphobic, I think.
Transphobic, sorry.
No, non-binary, whatever the fuck.
Sorry, I got to get my isms.
Your prejudices.
Yeah, my prejudices in a row.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was thinking of Saber again. What were we talking about?
I don't know. I said all my points for Gladiator.
Okay.
Some are boring.
Yeah, some are boring. Yeah, Fire is such a boring concept for Gladiator.
Yeah. And also kind of meaningless. Like with Saber, she does affect a somewhat feel like... She always does the same move when she comes out. This little like catty thing.
Yeah.
And Fire, just in the graphic when the show starts, she has a fireball, which is not going to be in the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cheating. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Electro kind of does it as well, because he just kind of stands there as electricity crackles.
Yeah. I think Viper is a bit of a misnomer as well, because I don't know the exact behaviour of a Viper, But you think like...
Yeah, but at least he's wearing like a necklace that has a viper on
You
it.
think it's lithe and stealth and it can move quickly. They're all big.
Yeah, he's just a brute.
It should be bull. Like Wolf worked.
Yeah.
He has a kind of lupine aspect to him.
Yeah, and like I guess Giant is kind of lazy as well, because like a lot of the gladiators are quite big.
Yeah.
So Giant isn't like towering over all of them.
Yeah. Legend works.
Yeah, Legend works.
He's a art legend.
Yeah, no, that's the thing.
Yeah,
that's what you needed. Following a concept like that.
Yes.
Yeah, fire just feels like you're cheating, really.
Okay, is that it?
Yeah.
I.S.S.
Oh yeah, we watched this, didn't we?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I think something that would typically go into the Rex and Rex pile.
Why didn't it?
Because I think there's some stuff to say about what surrounds it.
Okay.
So, it's a great idea. Explain what the idea is, Jordan.
Yeah, so the concept is it's set on the International Space Station. Mm-hmm. There are 3 American astronauts, 3 Russian astronauts. That's the idea of the I.S.S. It's collaboration between the nations.
Yes.
While they're up there, nuclear war breaks out on the planet. Everything's gone to hell. Both sides get contacted by their respective governments. You have to take control of the International Space Station.
Yeah.
The film ensues.
Yes.
Great setup. Great premise.
Great idea. Yeah. And the cast is fine.
Yeah.
The claustrophobic setting makes sense for what they're trying to do. Here's the fundamental problem. That great idea is packaged in an incredibly by-the-numbers thriller. And it ends up stuck somewhere uncomfortably between B-movie schlock and its loftier aspirations.
It's strange because this is a 90-minute film, and this is one of the rare exceptions where I feel like the brevity is to its detriment.
I agree. So, if this film is pure trash, it's B-movie trash, the Americans are the goodies, the Russians are the baddies, and that's not that interesting. To avoid cliche, you'd have to hit it so hard so that it would be a parody of 80s action films. No grey, just pure white and jet black. The issue is in trying to inject some complexity, as they do, and as you'd expect from modern film, we don't really do Rocky IV anymore. Right? Broadly speaking, obviously, I'm all for Americans portrayed as heroes and Russians as villains. The Cold War ensured that there was a staple of 80s action cinema. And they've stuck around as villains to some extent. But as we left the Cold War and careened into the 90s and then the 21st century, some films and some shows had the balls to cast Islamic extremists as villains. But it's a different, more self-conscious, more neurotic, and more afraid world. So we stick to Brits, for the most part, as our villains. They're safe, and Russians are a good backup. But I think the reason I wanted to review this a bit more fully is that I think it's an interesting study, a side-by-side. You put something like Red Dawn from 84 next to I.S.S. as a commentary on evolving cultural sensitivity. That said, I don't want to imply a nuance that isn't there in this film.
Right.
I'd be surprised if we see many, if any, films in the future that depict nations as aggressors.
Well, this was kind of the discussion that was being had around Top Gun Maverick, right?
Exactly.
Nebulous country.
It's nowhere.
Yeah, it's nowhere.
Somewhere in the country it's cold. That's all you know. Because we can't even do it with North Korea. Definitely not with China. Or Saudi Arabia, which will become more of a talking point in the future, I think.
Yeah.
The approach will mostly conform to what we get here, which is there are good and bad on both sides, and ultimately there's a nasty Ruski, a rogue Yank, a nice Ruski, a nice Yank, and they'll see beyond division and ignore the higher-ups to work together. It's an interesting film to come out now with what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
This is also interesting. I have absolutely no idea what the director's worldview is, but it's reasonable to assume that many of the people that worked on this are Hollywood.
Okay.
So there's a delicious contradiction in a film that ultimately argues for individualism, at least in how that relates to national identity, being produced by people that would otherwise stand for collectivism.
Oh, you mean like with woke stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I think that's interesting. But yeah, what we get is that nobody and everybody really is at fault. The unseen men of both states. The line between good and evil runs through every human heart and all that. Both are culpable, both are reactionary. There's a really vomit-inducingly on-the-nose moment where a Russian and American manage to kill each other and end up in a zero-gravity interlock.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, metaphor. A film, a thriller even, might be the venue to do something deeper and more serious. There's so much potential in that one idea. Not the idea of the film, if you get me, because it probably isn't big enough. I.S.S. might be primarily interested in the underlying themes, but it feels like it cares more about being a thriller. and you need to straddle them both. So I get that I'm basically advocating an entirely different project, but how great would it be to have a film, or likely a TV series, where you see both sides or more of the warring nations on Earth, the station still being the focal point, but you see the political scheming inside and between each camp, the miscommunication, the secret alliances, the Byzantine quagmire of international politics. Then on the station you have those that may be unquestioningly loyal patriots, others reluctantly going along with it and just doing their job, others not buying into any of it. You have all this possibility for complication and conflict. It's almost infinite. It's such fertile territory for drama and suspense and commentary, and someone willing to do the necessary research should write that story. It's not me.
Okay.
It was on a slightly smaller scale, but the Americans did this perfectly, right? Where you never saw the people at the very top, and the stakes were a little bit lower. You just do that on an even bigger scale. I understand that using a small cast as a lens for larger ideas and as representatives of institutions I get the time-tested logic of that. There's a risk that it could become unwieldy and tip over, or that you could lose the necessary specificity. But while it may not have quite the personal touch of other shows, The Wire managed to tell the story of a society and a city. It's doable.
Yeah, but it's not easy.
No, but it's doable. But that mental amble that I went on as the film proceeded is much better than the film.
Yeah, no, the film, it's not a recommendation, right?
No, it's not. I've seen most reviews seem to say that Ariana DeBose is good. The film isn't. Really.
Yeah. I don't know, I don't feel like... When I say this, I'm not even talking about the missed potential that you're talking about. I'm just talking about the film as presented to us.
As a 90-minute thriller.
As a 90-minute thriller. I don't feel like I saw the whole thing.
Right, yeah.
Because it ends with... Spoilers? It ends with, the remaining American and the remaining Russian leaving the International Space Station. They abandon it to go back to Earth.
Yeah.
The line that closes out the film is, where are we going? I don't know. Supposed to mean something, I imagine, probably.
Yeah, like obviously the whole thing is, they're rejecting their allegiance to the state. And it's like just being people. And who knows what's going to happen now. It's kind of like, it's playing it easy, really, with its ambiguity. It's kind of saying, anything can happen now.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Anything could happen, but certain things will happen. The story isn't over.
Yeah, no, I agree.
They're going to send more Americans and Russians to take the International Space Station.
Do you think they're setting up a sequel?
Oh, I don't think they'd have the balls to do that.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how well the film is done, so I don't know if it's a possibility.
Because this is the reason that I'm bringing this up as a criticism, because I do feel like the film does think it ended.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree.
So that's why I'm saying this now. Because, those characters are going to go back to Earth. And if they're not met with a nuclear wasteland, then they're going to be arrested by the respective governments. So they're going to be punished for what they did. You didn't end the film.
No, I agree. This is one of the problems we're talking about. It has these lofty ideals where... maybe like a 2.5-hour film that's dealing with the geopolitics of it can end with two characters heading to Earth not knowing what they might find.
Yeah.
But this is meant to be a claustrophobic 90-minute thriller.
Yeah.
That's set on a spaceship. It's meant to be alien writ smaller.
Yeah. They put the form over the world, I think, because the moment that they leave the space station is the moment the film ends. So they've maintained the purity of it because you never see what happens on Earth. Mm-hmm. But as I say, there was more story to tell that they can't tell because they didn't want to leave the space station.
That was the problem with Gravity, wasn't it? Is that she does land, and that film is supposed to end when she makes peace with dying and her daughter's death as she re-enters the atmosphere. That's the end of the film. Yeah. It's not her actually landing and being okay. Mm. Yeah, no, it maintains the purity, but you're left going, right.
And?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And I say, this is a film that either would go as a wreck or just not even be brought up. But I found it interesting to consider how this film would have looked in the 80s, which would have been Arnold Schwarzenegger is on the space station, and he's a good guy. He's an American good guy, weirdly enough. And then the Russians are bad, and it's an action movie. Yeah. And I would have preferred to see that than a half-arsed attempt to have nuance. Yeah. You know.
And you think this is a spectre of things to come?
Yeah, I think we're getting past the point where countries are bad guys.
Okay.
Unless it's an invented country.
Or a radical group.
Yeah. We'll talk about it probably in the next episode, or you will anyway. Red Eye.
All right.
It'll be that.
Okay.
That I don't want to say what it is, but okay. It'll be that. And more often than not now in films, it is that. Yeah. Because it's okay to point the finger there.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, that's it, right?
Yeah, because that's as you alluded to, you can't risk upsetting anyone anymore.
Yeah.
Not just because of the general fragility of the state of everything at the moment, but the fact that the people with whom we have the bigger problems, like ethically and in terms of like China and Saudi Arabia and stuff, they're just buying everyone.
Well, yeah. Well, it's the fragility of people is what it is.
Yeah.
Things are pretty bad and delicate. It's not more fragile than it was in the 1980s when nuclear war was really looming between America and Russia. And they were making Red Dawn. And they were making Rocky IV. And I know Rocky IV, the whole point at the end, he's like, come on.
Yeah.
It's time to end this bullshit.
Yeah.
But Ivan Drago, he's a Russian, doesn't speak, that just kills his friend. He's a bad guy, you know. And Rocky's a good guy, and he's draped in the American flag in the Soviet Union. He fights in the Soviet Union. People have more balls. And 80s action movies were Reagan confection. They were in the wake of Ronald Reagan's presidency, which is evil empire. And so a lot of the films, you know, the cliched 80s action film, Roadhouse, for instance, which we'll come to, they're muscular, and they're kind of like, take no prisoners, and America, fuck yeah, it's the Team America thing.
Yeah.
That era's, and I'm not saying that, you know, that has problems, but we now live in, you know, a namby-pamby kind of world, which is, we're all to blame, aren't we, really? And America's kind of done its share of evil, and, well, no, North Korea's worse. It just is. Yeah, we live in a fragile, delicate world with fragile, delicate people, unfortunately. So we're not going to get Rocky IV anymore.
No.
Not to say it's a masterpiece, but I want to live in a world where there's a Rocky IV, you know.
But there is a Rocky IV. There's two.
A new Rocky IV.
Because they brought out the director's cut, didn't they?
Oh, yeah, that's true. I haven't seen that.
No, nor have I.
You were going to buy it for your mother, weren't you? She's a Rocky IV fan.
Yeah, but I don't think there's a physical edition of it.
Okay.
I couldn't find a physical edition.
Okay, I might have to watch that.
Yeah.
What they just took the silly stuff out, is it?
They took the silly stuff out, but I think
the silly stuff.
I think he said there's something like 40 minutes of...
Okay. See,
either new footage or changed footage.
Rocky IV is great. Like, that is the 80s in a nutshell. That 80s American film, anyway. It's just like, not only is it Ivan Drago and, you know, anti-Soviet, it's the pure excesses of that period, which is, he has a robot in it.
Yeah. I think the robot's gone.
I know. That's what makes the film charming. It's like, it's Rocky's, you know, he wrote it when he had no money.
Yeah.
He was paid nothing for the script because he wanted a star in it. He's a Philly street enforcer for a loan shark. And then by the fourth one, he's a multimillionaire that has a robot.
Yeah.
It's like jump the shark. You know, that's why obviously the films that follow try to bring it a bit more back down to earth.
Yeah. But they didn't have a sequence to Hearts on Fire, did they?
That felt like there was it's just the music video.
Yeah.
I think the actual music video for the song is just the film. Yeah. What's in the film. He's just driving along with flashbacks from earlier films as they play Hearts on Fire.
Yeah.
But I like it.
It's the opposite of Dune, isn't it? It's like, this is terrible, but I love it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If I can change and you can change, everybody can change. And the Russian president stands up and applauds.
He wrote that.
Exactly. That's another thing, the fact he wrote it for himself.
Yeah. As you say, wrote that at a time where Russia were going to blow us all up. Or blow them all up.
Yeah.
I guess they blow everyone up.
Okay. That it?
Yeah.
Roadhouse. The 2024 Roadhouse.
Yeah.
Though we did watch the original Roadhouse in preparation.
For context, I suppose.
Yeah. Like, we were originally going to review them side by side, but it became clear that wasn't necessary.
No.
Yeah, the original Roadhouse is a bad film. It's a bad film. I got like a vocal Friday.
Bad. Yeah. No, it's a strange bad film. Because you say it's an 80s action film, so that doesn't necessarily guarantee quality.
No.
In fact, it might even be an indicator that it's not going to be...
Yeah.
But they're a good time.
Mostly, yeah.
It wasn't a good time.
Which is interesting, because it is held up as the exemplar of rubbish, but very fun.
Yeah.
It's in Family Guy, the whole Roadhouse. Like, yeah, it's the go-to bad, has a cult following 80s movie. And I didn't like it.
No, I didn't really understand a lot of it.
Yeah.
Not in the sense like, whoa, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Just like, why? Why is this unfolding the way that it is?
Yeah.
Why is Sam Elliott here at all?
Yeah.
Where did he go? He's back now?
It's just, it's weird now going back. I watched a film today called Body Double, which is from 84, I think. And it's a Brian De Palma film that is similarly it is excessive. Tits and violence.
Okay.
And, like, a woman gets killed with like a power drill and just like, you know.
Oh, right, okay.
Critics hated it at the time, and it's seen critical resurgence. People like it as it showed the excesses of that time, and it's meant to be Hitchcockian, but it kind of takes the piss at the same time. I didn't like it that much, but it's weird now going back to those 80s films with the films we get nowadays, when it is just get your tits out, love. Essentially, that's the kind of philosophy of those films, and just killing in the most violent way possible. Now, of course, violence, if handled well, which we'll talk about in the Fallout review, actually. Because watching the original...
So much foreshadowing to a future episode.
Because I think I watched them close together, and in Fallout there is extreme violence, and it is genuinely fun. And in Roadhouse there's extreme violence, and it felt horrible.
The original Roadhouse.
Yeah, the original Roadhouse, And you can... we have moved past this. Yeah. You know?
Well, it's horrible, but like also a necessary feeling. Like, I know that the film is an excuse to have that violence and that action, but you do end up questioning, like, why is he doing this? Our supposed hero, why is he like ripping this guy?
It's a grim, it's sweaty, it's grim. It's just kind of an unpleasant watch. Anyway, so we watched the original and the new one. We're going to talk about the new one. Jake Gyllenhaal had a... Do you want to do the plot? Is it worth doing the plot?
Sure, okay. Jake Gyllenhaal is a UFC fighter, former UFC fighter who doesn't do it anymore, but you know his reputation precedes him. He gets enlisted by this woman to bounce. Yeah. Is it bouncing? Yeah. It's like, there's another word that they use in Roadhouse, isn't there?
Oh, I don't know.
Not de-escalator, but something like that.
Oh, right, okay.
You know, you're like, calm her down.
Yeah.
But he just beats people up.
Yeah.
Anyway, she's got like a rowdy bar with rowdy customers. She wants him to kind of keep an eye on it, keep things running smoothly. He complies, he goes there, has a relationship with a doctor nearby, and you find out that there's a gang that wants the lands that the Roadhouse is built on, so they're trying to drive her away. Yeah. And that is the film. It's them.
Yeah, things escalate, and then it becomes a battle between Jake Gyllenhaal and this gang.
Yeah, that's pretty much it,
Yeah. So Jake Gyllenhaal had a string, not unbroken, but still, of high-quality performances from 2012 until 2019, which is when he was in Spider-Man Far From Home.
Okay.
But since The Guilty, he has starred uniquely in action films. Maybe he's getting some under his belt while he can, but I do hope he returns to Your Prisoners and Your Nightcrawlers.
Yeah, what's next for him? He's in a show coming out later this year, right?
Is he?
Yeah, Presumed Innocent, I think it's called.
He's in that, is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's like a more dramatic...
A drama miniseries. Well, he may be in season 2 of Beef.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. Weirdly, that hasn't been commissioned, but they're talking about it, and they have the cast they want. So it would be Jake Gyllenhaal, Anne Hathaway, Kaylee Spaney, and Charles Melton.
Right, so is this a Fargo situation where it's just a different setting?
It would be entirely different.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, it has a strong sense of place. It does feel like Florida, which they probably filmed there, but still, it does feel like Florida.
I won't deny that, yeah.
There are funny moments. The fights are okay. I know you're less a fan of them than I am.
There are some that are, like, his little slap fight outside the bar.
Yeah.
Like the first proper fight sequence in the film. I like that.
Yeah.
Because it's... Like, there's probably camera trickery and stunt doubles and all that, like maybe a little bit of digital manipulation.
Yeah.
But it feels like a grounded fight sequence, and I like it, because it's the fact that he's slapping them gives it more personality.
Yeah.
It's towards the end of the film where they're clearly digitally puppeteering the camera to make the fight sequences appear more dynamic than they are.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Yes.
And I don't know whether that was just they were over-ambitious, or whether they just weren't skilled enough to pull off the sequences that they were going for.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, like, Conor McGregor and Jake Gyllenhaal, it feels like they're doing all right. Like, it's not brilliant choreography, but it feels like they're throwing themselves into the scenes adequately.
Yeah, well, I mean, McGregor obviously is a fighter, and Gyllenhaal is a very committed actor, so I imagine that he would be throwing himself into it.
Yeah, so it's strange when I feel like the camera's trying to hide something from me, because it does look like they are actually performing, those two.
Yeah, well, Doug Liman's an interesting director, because he started out, things like Go and that, but then he did, which is good, The Bourne Identity, which is a good start.
Yeah.
But, it's overshadowed by Paul.
Yeah, it's no Bourne Ultimatum. Yeah.
And he did Edge of Tomorrow, which is a decent action film. So he's a very competent but never excellent director. And it kind of fits here. It's incredibly simple and challenging in every way, but I was never bored. I was never bored watching it. Everyone knew what they were doing. They weren't aiming for high art. It was a very comfortable watch. Yeah, this man here, it's not like Villeneuve, you go, that's a master of his craft. You go, he can make films.
Okay.
You don't like None of it is, not sure about that. It's all just very simple and kind of easy to watch. I like that he's a nice bloke.
Oh, Gyllenhaal.
Yeah. It's a twist with some personality to it. When he starts killing people, it's a tiny bit jarring.
Yeah.
Until you remember that that's the way these things are supposed to go. But it's not within the context of the film. It is a bit like, oh, right, okay. But you know it's going there because that's what these films do.
I suppose so. And they foreshadow it plenty with his like flashbacks to his UFC days.
Yeah.
And the way that people just generally talk about him. It's like, all right, there's something about this guy. Like, he's left something behind.
Yes.
You know? And the way that he handles himself in fight, it's like, right, there's something he's holding back here. But yeah, I would agree. It feels like a jump to go from like a pacifist that's forced to violence to someone that is just killing people.
Plus, thing, it always goes from like, oh, this time they pushed him one step too far, and he restrains himself until the character he likes is targeted. Yeah. That's the way these things always go, and it's kind of you go, okay, you could have done more work to make that move a bit more less jarring. But I know it always happens like that.
Yeah, and I suppose it's kind of nice that they do kill them. There's no kind of like...
Yeah.
You haven't seen or played the Yakuza games, have you?
No.
Yeah, I think those are games where canonically the main characters never kill anyone.
Okay.
But the fight sequences in them are so brutal.
Of course everyone's dead.
Well, if not dead, they will be drinking through a straw for the rest of their lives.
Sure.
And so in a way, the fact that they don't kill them, it's kind of worse.
Well, it's kind of like Batman, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, all right, you haven't killed them.
Broke that guy's neck.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
That guy, like, the medical bills.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, I guess, like, okay, he's killed them, but I don't know, there may have been a way where he didn't have to kill people.
Or getting there a little bit more believably and organically.
Yeah, but I think it presents an interesting challenge for those action sequences where he can't kill people, but he has to disable them somehow.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Like The Dark Knight, the whole film's built around the premise that whatever happens, he's not going to kill anybody.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's possible. It's an old school action film, though slicker, of course. It's a proper remake. None of the characters are children of characters from the original or anything like that. No cameos, It ticks all the traditional boxes. There are a group of particularly villainous villains.
Yes.
A love interest, an innocent that motivates the hero into action. The cowardly comic relief villain, Mo, who I liked. The overly chatty primary antagonist, Billy Magnuson, who I liked. Mm-hmm. And the muscle who offers the final fight. Conor McGregor.
Did you know Conor McGregor before this?
Yeah, but I hadn't seen him really do anything.
Okay.
But I knew who he was, and I knew...
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay, so you didn't have adequate preparation going in?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. When he wasn't acting, he was fine.
Okay. Was he acting at some point?
Well, okay, when he wasn't delivering dialogue, he was fine.
Okay.
And I know the role doesn't demand much acting, but it does demand some. He's meant to be the charismatic, menacing heavy. Mm. I found him very annoying, but I think...
Dalton!
Yeah, but I'm going to give him his due. I think he will work for younger viewers as a heel.
Okay.
But the film is rated 15, so...
Yeah, no, fair.
I don't know whether that walk of his is an affectation or he has to genuinely walk that way because of his build, but it's too much.
His physicality fascinates me.
Yeah, it's like Bill Burr.
It's genuinely compelling to watch. Like when he goes to the house, I think it's after Dalton starts like killing people.
Yeah.
And obviously all of the crew have scattered.
Yeah. Where the fuck is it?
Where the fuck is everyone gone? Yeah. And he's like, he's standing still, but his arms are like... rigid and like out in front of him,
and I didn't know whether that's how he is.
Yeah,
or
I think kind of. He might have. I don't know. He probably played it up a little bit. Okay, but I feel like this is him.
Well, I get that he's the highest paid athlete in the world or whatever, but there's such a thing as too much. So hench that you're deformed. He looks ridiculous, and I'd say that to his face.
Oh, really? Okay. It's the last thing you'd ever do. I
know. He had a pretty good death until he didn't. Which was disappointing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they did do that, didn't they?
Yeah, the death was a cool death. Like, okay, that's good. But then he doesn't die.
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan of the constant pointing out that it's essentially a Western.
Yeah, there's all of that stuff you got to sit through as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
Like, it can't just be a film anymore. It's got to be a film that's aware
of its tropes. Yeah. that bar has quite a lot of decent acts for a random island.
This is the one
the
area
one
where I would say the original is superior.
Yeah, I agree.
I like that the original, the bar in the original genuinely does feel like a dive.
Yeah.
It feels like a place where violent people would gather. And I like that you see it evolve over the course of the film.
Yes, and it's like a house band. It's basically the same.
Yeah, it's the same people over and over again. But yeah, the cage eventually comes down and the bar becomes cleaner and they install neon.
Yeah.
You can feel this place growing and getting better.
Yeah.
And they never focus on it. It's just detail. And that's really nice.
Yeah.
This bar never changes. In fact, they trash it at the end.
Completely.
Completely destroy it. Well, they not completely destroy it, but they're not going to be open for a while.
No. Yeah, no, that is the one area where the original's better.
Yeah.
I don't know what him leaving at the end does or says, but I think we can probably expect a sequel, given that McGregor survives.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I think it's going to do well enough that if they want one, they'll have one.
Yeah, I'm just wondering why, now you've mentioned it, why does he leave? Can't remember what his reason is.
He just does, I think. Is it under the thing of like he's protecting... I'm not sure. But at the end, he's going to leave, and then that girl comes up to him and says... Because they only talk in terms of, I'm reading this Western book or whatever. She says, you might not be the good guy, but you're not the bad guy. Mm. And then he kind of smiles and leaves.
Yeah.
That's her trying to get him to stay. She says, you should stay, because you're not a bad guy. Mm. And then he leaves anyway. And I'm like, oh, right. Why?
Yeah.
I didn't understand, because he's in love with this woman. I don't know, it didn't really make sense to me. There'll be a sequel. I'm sure there'll be a sequel. Him versus McGregor round 2.
Right.
We'll see. But that's all I got for Roadhouse.
Yeah, I recommend it.
I do just as an action film. Don't expect anything above that. But if you just want an action film, it's all right. It's pretty good.
It's fine. Like I said, some of the action is all right. Some of it is not, as far as I'm concerned.
No, I agree. But
that camera does ruin it.
The people to whom this might sound snobby, but I don't mean it that way. The people to whom I'm recommending it will not care.
Yeah.
Like, they just wouldn't think about that.
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
And I did, appreciate what initially seemed like... The film seemed to have a briskness to it when it started.
Yeah.
You got that opening fight that Gyllenhaal, goes in and the guy doesn't even fight him. Immediately goes outside and gets stabbed.
Yeah.
Then the woman's like, come work at my bar. He turns it down. His car gets wrecked. He's in Florida. It's like, oh, wow, this is zipping along.
Yeah.
And it does slow down at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. Just use your...
best judgment.
Yeah, use your best judgment for it, I think.
That's defeating our purpose entirely. No, exercise your own judgment.
Yeah.
No, I take your point. I think it's a rare remake where you go, yeah, you can remake that film into something better. It's a vast improvement over the original in every way except the one we talked about. Mm. It has a pure heart. It's an action film, obviously, but its heart's in the right place. Whereas the original, it doesn't feel like that. It feels like a nasty film sometimes.
Oh, and I know what it's doing, with the soundtrack, but the soundtrack to this film as well, it feels like someone trying to be cool.
Yeah.
It's got that guitar that they play in, counting cars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where it's blokes working on cars and the guitar's do 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 do. Well, it's that kind of music. It's not,
It's the kind of film that's going to appeal, if you admire, henchmen, you kicked ass in that UFC fight. You like it. You will. And I think there's a lot of men out there, in particular, that would like that. Yeah,
probably.
But I'm just trying to be fair, But,
I know.
Yeah, no, it's not that good. It's better than most action films. I'll say that. It's better than most action films.
Oh, maybe.
No, it is. We don't watch. Well, we haven't, anyway, in the past.
Yeah.
It is better than most action films. It's competent. It's competently made. And it does have a pure heart. It does. Whereas a lot of action films don't. And the original certainly doesn't. But yeah, that's it.
Okay.
And finally, You'll Never Find Me, Jordan.
Where did he go? That's the end of that bit. Yeah. A weird film to end on. This guy is in this little caravan?
Yeah, caravan.
Yeah, static caravan.
Trailer park.
In a trailer park. And there's an almighty storm brewing outside. Mm-hmm. A woman knocks at his door. A young girl knocks at his door. This is an older guy. Mm-hmm. A young girl knocks at his door. She's like, I need to get out of here, basically. Can you call me, a car?
Mm-hmm.
So he kind of invites her in. But then whenever she's trying to get him to, help her leave, it's like, oh, call me a car or do whatever. He's like, oh, no, I can't do that.
Yeah.
And so this is just this general... The whole film basically is it's these two characters in one place not really trusting each other.
Yes, there's a constant unease and a tension.
Yeah, you never really know what either person wants. You've no idea where this is really going to go.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the foundation of the horror. Because it's not like scary horror, it's sort of uneasy.
Yeah. No, it is. Okay, so it's a Shudder horror, isn't it?
Yeah, the Shudder streaming, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're usually a notch above the standard fare, but I was very pleasantly surprised by this.
Okay.
It's ridden with paranoia and suspicion and a constantly simmering tension. It's well acted. I really like Brendan Rock, the guy. I thought he was great.
Yeah, they're both great, but he was really...
that man's been through stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, without having to hear about his backstory.
He looks it. It's on his features.
Yeah, you can read him.
Yeah. It's well shot. The sound is great. I really like the sound.
Yeah, I this would never get a nomination for its sound at like the Oscars or anything like that, but it absolutely deserves it.
Absolutely does. It's blessedly low on jump scares, but there are a few. Yeah, so it presents itself initially as something Hitchcockian, where the layers are going to gradually be peeled back and perceptions shift, or something theatrical wherein two characters in a single isolated location get to the heart of something.
Yeah.
It's not quite either of those things ultimately.
No.
And I think there's a risk of disappointment if your mind selects either lane early on. Oh, it's going to be that kind of film, You're going to be disappointed.
Okay.
I didn't know what I was in for, and I initially did think of it as something whose enigmatic core was fundamental. It is in a way, but not how you'd expect. And you can view that as a failure in the script, but I'd say you really just have to sacrifice any expectations and go with it. And pretty soon you should key into the fact that something else is happening.
Yeah, can I ask you to expand on what you mean by disappointment?
What? The risk of disappointment?
Yeah, what would disappoint you? What are you referring to when you say disappointment?
Well, it didn't disappoint me.
Okay. But you said there is a risk of disappointment.
If you go in thinking, okay, there's these two characters, it's something Hitchcockian where there are secrets.
Yeah.
And things are going to gradually be peeled back and like, we're going to be on her side and his side. And it is that up to a point. But then it's really not that. And I think if you're going in thinking, okay, the truth of... It's hard to explain, right? Because it does ultimately end up as you discovering the kind of truth of the situation.
Yeah.
But it's not in any way that you would really think for the longest time.
Okay, that's interesting.
Don't get me wrong, you know something's off. And we will get to the spoilers. I'm not going to completely avoid it here.
Yeah, no, of course.
Or if you go into it thinking, right, it's a theatre piece. It's two characters and the dialogue is going to like reveal things about them. It's not that either. It goes somewhere completely off the rails.
Yeah.
And I think if you go in expecting one of those two things, like either of those lanes, and then it becomes this other thing, you might be disappointed by it. I liked the audacity of it.
Okay.
You didn't.
I was disappointed with the ending.
Okay.
But because, and I'm going to try not spoil it, because I know you said we're going to get to spoilers.
Yeah.
I did develop an idea as to what it was doing.
Okay.
And that idea was subverted at some point.
Okay.
But I feel like the subversion made it a worse film.
What did you think was going on?
We might have to dip into spoilers.
We will. We're going to. It's just like I wasn't going to get to it quite yet.
Okay.
But no, go on. I think the next thing I can say, yeah, go.
Okay, all right. So this is spoilers now.
Yeah, spoilers.
Okay, yeah. Genuinely spoilers. Yeah, because the film, like, if you know what's going to happen, then it's...
Yes.
You lose the appeal of the film, really. Yeah, I thought that it was going to be this kind of, like you said, this Hitchcockian chamber piece where the villain was paranoia.
Yeah.
Like
nothing actually was going on.
Yeah, nothing was going on. There was nothing strange about this. It is just two people that have found themselves isolated together.
Yes.
And their distrust of each other drives them to becoming each other's monster.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting. Like, it's a horror film with no villain, and that's the villain. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But there is a villain.
If you like, yeah.
There is a villain, and I don't know, it just became... I feel like I got a worse film than what I thought I was going to get.
Okay, I take your point, and I think there's a good film to be had there.
Yeah.
With paranoia as the villain kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I've seen things like that, and I've seen plays like that. I do not think this is a perfect film. I don't think it's an excellent film. But I did admire the fact that it just completely flips everything on its head and goes in a very weird direction. And I like... Okay, right.
Yeah.
So I'll start by saying there's a monologue in the film, the nature of which we can't go into now.
Yeah.
It hits a kind of philosophy or pathology on the head. and that is one that orbits serial murder.
Okay.
So there are films like Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, and The House That Jack Built that really try and take you into the bleakly demented psychology of a serial killer, and they are grim, grim films. Don't get me wrong, this isn't a barrel of laughs.
No.
But nor does it have that horrible quality that a film like Relic has. Like Taxi Driver, it's a vivid capturing of the inside of a mind. It's not directly comparable to Taxi Driver because the mind we have here is an altered one. There are echoes of I'm thinking of ending things, small, confusing, contradictory details, things that may or may not be happening, and time playing out in unusual ways. That's the stuff that I like the most, which is when you think it's like, okay, maybe he's a killer, maybe, like, who knows, then it seems like she's got something going on, and then I can't remember exactly what it is, I think it's in the bathroom. Something happens, and you're like, hang on, that's out of order, something happened there. And there's something's in the other room, and it's just that uneasy, eerie feeling that I want from my horror films. The ending is fucking bonkers.
Yeah.
It really unfolds like a nightmare, and the resolution, as it appeared to have done with you, might make you go, oh, it was that.
Yeah.
That's why I would say the best advice is just to roll with the weird. But there is a resolution, and this is what I liked about it as well. Nothing is unresolved. So a film like this, it's horror, it takes you off in these directions, and then you kind of don't know what happened at the end of it. Like, was it a dream? And I know it was a dream is usually like and this isn't a dream, we're in spoiler territory, it's a hallucinogenic nightmare, basically, that he's in.
Yeah.
And at the end of the film, he dies, having overdosed on, I think it's fentanyl. And I appreciated the fact that, as out there as the film was, it actually had a concrete reality that I'm not often given with films like this.
Okay.
You leave knowing exactly what's happened over the course of the film. It's not pure oblique madness. And like I say, ultimately this isn't breaking the mold. It's a high-end, low-budget horror. But I was surprised by how much, for me, it brought to the table. And I'd be really intrigued to see what the filmmakers do next. For me, I really want to see their second film.
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah.
But I completely take your point, why you were disappointed. I suppose because I went in knowing nothing about it, and then really not knowing, like you said, where it was going to go. And then when it went there, it was obvious. He's actually a serial killer, blah. But I kind of, in a weird way, I liked that, because usually these things it's just total ambiguity. And I liked that, what's happened over this film is this man lives alone in a trailer. He's overdosed on things to kill himself.
Yeah.
He plunges into a fucking psychological abyss, and then he overdoses and dies. And I was like, okay, good, I know that was the film.
Yeah.
And I was okay with that. And I will say this, that you will remember the ending. The final shot, you'll remember it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I hadn't considered, that is something that I hadn't considered, I'll be honest. The fact that this film does have a conclusive end.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, I'm not confused by what I'm supposed to take away from it. I know exactly what it wanted from me. The thing is, I don't know, it feels like they started making the film knowing what they wanted to make, which is a good thing. You should always know what you want to make. And then another film presented itself as they were making it, and they didn't pivot to that.
Okay.
They stuck with their original vision, and I think it was to their detriment, because while the first hour is the atmosphere of it and the craft of it and just the way that it unfolds is really good. I do like it. Yeah. I think that ending undid a lot of the goodwill that I had for that film. Okay. Because it's not just that it was different. I'm not mad at the film for breaking its promise to me. It's that it was just, it was like, oh, it's that. It's a student film.
I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't call it a student film.
The idea of it is very student film. Like a serial killer hanging out with his victim, basically.
I don't know. There we have, I think, a fundamental disagreement. I agree with you that, look, I think it's hit or miss. I knew, recommending it to you and talking about it was going to be I really don't know what he's going to think of this. Yeah. It is a hit or miss. For a lot of people, it's going to be miss. And for me, horror films, weird films, if they go off in kind of directions that, are different, it can be, no, that's not what the film is. Or it can be, it's mad, and I love it. I love that it's mad. Like A Field in England, it's just a fucking mad, bonkers film. Yeah. And it is. It's hit or miss. I don't think I could put my finger on exactly why. But I don't know, I watched this, and I watched it, it was dark, early morning, watched it on my laptop with the lights all out and everything. And I was just like, oh, I'm really into this. And when it ended, I didn't feel robbed. I liked that that's what it was. And yeah, it was pretty clear what had happened. And the hallucinogenic sequence, that's hit or miss for me as well. When things descend into hallucinations, a lot of the time I just kind of roll my eyes and go, okay, yeah, hallucination. In this, it felt genuinely horrific and terrifying, like if you were him. And I appreciated that. And then, I don't know, like when you find out what it is, I know you're saying you think it's like a student film, like serial killer hanging out with his victim.
Is dead victim, I
yeah, it's dead
specify,
victim.
Yeah.
As the layers were unpeeled, or peeled, I liked the fact that I came to an understanding that, oh, so what I'm watching is a film about a serial killer who lives alone in a trailer that is killing himself. And the film has been his final, lucid, whatever.
Yeah.
I kind of liked that that was what was really going on. I can't tell you exactly why, but there's just something about a serial killer, like, on his own, and just dealing with his own psychology. And that's what I say, when things are about to tip into utter madness, and she's, like, cowering away from him with his back turned, and he starts talking about, he says something like, you kill someone, or you do something, and nothing happens. What am I meant to think about that? And that's what I mean about the psychology of a serial, which is just like, you're tapping into that weird mindset of...
Yeah, and I like that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I like that stuff a lot. It's like, okay, I feel like that's been articulated in a way that I haven't heard before, which is, I'm doing the worst thing possible, and nothing bad is happening to me.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to keep doing it, kind of thing. And no, but I take your point that if you don't like the twist, if you don't like where it goes, you're not going to like the film all that much.
I think it's a similar problem that I had with Spaceman.
Right.
Where as soon as the spider has served its purpose to the plot, they kill the spider.
Okay.
Like with this, as soon as you find out that she's one of his victims, she stops being a character.
Well, as she would, though, to be fair.
I get that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I did feel like I was robbed of something. Because you go into the film and it's like, oh, there's obviously something up with this guy. She knows there's something up with this guy. We're kind of in her position.
Yeah.
So my initial prediction was, oh, she's going to be the problem, the antagonistic force. And he's going to wear her down and that's going to unleash something. And obviously we spend time with her on her own, which kind of like disguises the fact.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he's not there.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, okay, well, it can't be from his perspective because we're with this character now. I don't know. I just feel like there was something that I preferred.
Okay.
That I thought the film could have easily pivoted to and it didn't.
Okay. Well,
without losing all of the stuff that made it really good before. Like you said, like the unique kind of perspective.
Yeah. And the tension and the weirdness.
Yeah, and just the texture of it that you get from the sound. And
I think it would have lost that I'm thinking of ending thing, obviously.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't... You could have had a mad ending, but not that mad ending.
No, I don't mean the ending. I mean details are off. And why are they off?
No, you could feed into that.
Well, with the paranoia, you mean?
Yeah, when she says, if the gates are locked, then how did I end up at the front door?
Right.
And his immediate response is, I was going to ask you the same thing.
Yes.
That's what I want. I want a film with that.
Yeah.
Where, like, neither character is letting the other one in, and therefore they're creating this different reality.
Here's the thing. I completely take your point. I can't argue you out of that point.
Yeah.
I think it is Marmite. I think you either like it or you don't. And, like, I think one of the distinctions that I'm detecting is when I watched it, I can honestly say I thought nothing about the kind of film it was going to be.
Okay.
Afterwards, you go, oh, okay, you might go in thinking, it's Hitchcock. I just put it on and just let it roll. Like you were saying, oh, I want that paranoia feeding that. I honestly had none of those thoughts, and I suppose that's rare. I don't know why it happened in this case, but I thought, oh, it's the bloke that lives alone in a caravan, it's a horror film, let's just watch it. And then just let it wash over me. And like I said, the only like cognitive thing that I experienced was, oh, something else is happening. And then, admiring the monologue and all that kind of thing. But I'd never had any expectations for it whatsoever. I think that's the key thing. I really think that's the key thing. And so you can't be disappointed. And then when it goes completely haywire, you're either going to just go with it and go, all right, sure. Or you're going to go, it's kind of betrayed me in some way. And obviously we're in two different camps there. And I think both are valid. I really do. Like I said, I'm not arguing this is a perfect horror film. I think for my money, it's one of the better films of the year because I admire its madness and its tone. But I can't say you're wrong. Do you know what I mean? I can't really argue with what you're saying. Oh, like generally the reception to it has been very good. like, who to recommend it to is an interesting one, because it's not for your immaculate, conjuring. It's not for your horror girl crowd.
No.
Just give it, if you're half interested, give it a go, I would say. Because I don't think you would say don't watch it, right?
No, I wouldn't turn people away from it, but I just, be careful.
Okay. Well, that was my biggest note, was don't have any expectation. I mean, we've told you the ending, so...
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess, I don't know, it'd be weird if they listened up to the point where we said spoilers and are now coming back now. But if that is the case, John's cautioning a cautioned recommendation, or at least not a non-recommendation.
Yeah.
And I would give a cautioned recommendation. All to say that I liked it quite a lot, but I know that it's not everyone's cup of tea.
Mm. Yeah, there is a lot to like about it.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's got a fantastic texture, which is lent to it by its amazing sound design.
Yeah.
And it does feel claustrophobic. And there are really interesting performances, delivering really interesting dialogue. But the film did lose me at some point.
Okay, and I think what we can fairly say in conclusion is that we both really liked it up to a certain point.
Yeah.
And then when the twist happens, you're either with it or you're not.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
Yeah, okay. Fair, okay. I think that's it.
Okay, all right.
All right. See you next episode.
Bye-bye.
Bye.